The bell, that's the first sound you hear as consciousness slowly returns. Not a church bell calling the faithful to prayer, but something smaller, more urgent, more wrong. As your eyes flutter open, you realize you're not in your familiar bedroom. You're lying on rough straw in a wooden hut, and through the cracks in the walls, you can see figures moving in the distance, all carrying small brass bells that chime with every step. Welcome to Spitalfield's Leper Colony, England, 1348. You've just woken up in medieval society's most feared place, among the living dead. The first thing you notice isn't the unfamiliar surroundings or even the strange, acrid smell that fills the air. It's your hands as you lift them to rub your eyes. Something feels fundamentally wrong. The skin appears waxy and pale, almost translucent in places, and when you try to flex your fingers, some of them respond sluggishly, as if the connection between your mind and your body has been severed. Panic floods through you as you struggle to sit up on what you now realize is a thin mattress stuffed with straw. The room around you is small and crude, wooden walls that don't quite meet properly, letting in drafts of cold air and slivers of gray daylight. A small window covered with oilcloth provides the only illumination, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. Through the gaps in the walls, you can hear them, the bells. Dozens of them, creating a constant, discordant symphony as people move about outside. Each bell is small, probably brass, and they ring with every step their bearers take. The sound is haunting, purposeful, and carries with it an unmistakable message. Warning. You try to stand, but your legs feel unsteady, as if they belong to someone else. The sensation is terrifying, not weakness exactly, but a disconnection that makes every movement feel uncertain. As you manage to get to your feet, you catch a glimpse of yourself in a small, cracked mirror hanging on the wall. The face looking back at you is your own, but changed. The skin has that same waxy quality you noticed on your hands, and there are patches that appear slightly raised and discolored. Your eyes, while still recognizably yours, seem to have lost some of their luster. Most disturbing of all, when you try to touch your face, you realize that sensation is diminished. You can feel pressure, but the subtle sensations of texture and temperature are muted. The reality begins to sink in with crushing weight. You have leprosy, the disease that medieval society fears above all others, the condition that transforms living people into social ghosts, legally dead while still breathing. Outside your small dwelling, footsteps approach, accompanied by the inevitable chiming of bells. A voice calls out, gentle but maintaining careful distance. Are you awake in there? I'm Brother Marcus. I help tend to the new arrivals. Through the oiled cloth window, you can make out a shadowy figure standing several feet away from your door. He's maintaining the distance that law and custom require between the healthy and the afflicted. I know this is overwhelming, Brother Marcus continues, his voice carrying genuine compassion despite the physical distance. But you're safe here, and you're not alone. When you're ready, there are things you need to understand about your new life. New life. The phrase hits you like a physical blow. Your old life, whatever it was, is over. Everyone you knew, everything you owned, every plan you had for the future, all of it has been severed as completely as if you had actually died. You try to remember how you got here, what led to this moment, but your memory feels fragmented. There are flashes, a growing patch of strange skin that wouldn't heal, the horrified expression on a physician's face, the sound of your own voice pleading that there must be some mistake. But there was no mistake. The diagnosis was final, and with it came immediate legal and social death. Your property was redistributed. Your marriage, if you had one, was dissolved. Your children, if any existed, were told to forget your name. You were given the clothes on your back, a bell to warn others of your approach, and directions to the nearest leper colony. That colony is Spitalfield's, one of dozens scattered throughout England, to house those whom society has declared untouchable. It's located far enough from any town to pose no threat to the healthy population, but close enough to a major road that supplies an occasional. Visitors can reach it through your window. You can see other buildings scattered across what appears to be several acres of cleared land. Some are individual huts like yours. Others are larger structures that might serve communal purposes. Gardens and small plots of cultivated land are visible between the buildings, suggesting that the colony is at least partially self-sufficient. People move between the buildings, perhaps 30 or 40 individuals that you can see, all carrying the brass bells that mark them as lepers. They wear simple clothes, mostly browns and grays, and many have their faces partially covered with cloth masks or hoods. Despite the visible signs of disease, they move with purpose and dignity, going about their daily tasks with the same determination. You might see in any small village. The sight is both comforting and terrifying. Comforting because it suggests that life continues even after the diagnosis that ends normal existence. Terrifying because it confirms that this is now your reality, not a nightmare you'll wake up from, but the beginning of whatever time you have left on Earth. Brother Marcus waits patiently outside your door while you struggle to process your new reality. His presence is somehow reassuring. Even though the mandatory distance between you serves as a constant reminder of your changed status, I know you must have questions, he says gently. But first, you need to understand the most important rule here. The bells must be worn at all times when you're outside your dwelling. They're not just for the protection of healthy people who might encounter us. They're for our protection as well. He explains that failure to properly announce one's presence as a leper is a serious crime that can result in severe punishment, including being burned alive. The bells serve as both warning and protection, ensuring that encounters between the healthy and the afflicted are always deliberate and controlled. The bell around your neck, he continues, should ring clearly with every step you take. If it becomes damaged or lost, you must remain in your dwelling until a replacement can be found. No exceptions. You look down and notice for the first time that there is indeed a small brass bell hanging from a leather cord around your neck. It's simple but well made, with a clear, bright tone that will carry a considerable distance. The weight of it against your chest feels symbolic, a constant reminder of your separation from the world you once knew. Brother Marcus also explains the basic layout of the colony. Your individual dwelling is one of 25 small huts reserved for new arrivals and those who prefer solitude. The larger buildings include a communal hall where meals are served and community meetings are held, a chapel for religious services, workshops where various crafts are practiced, and the infirmary where the sickest residents receive what care is possible. The colony operates on principles of mutual support and shared responsibility. He explains, everyone contributes what they can to the common welfare. Some tend gardens, others cook. Some maintain buildings or practice crafts that can be traded for supplies we can't produce ourselves. The mention of trade surprises you. You had assumed that leper colonies were completely isolated from the outside world. But apparently some limited commerce is possible. Brother Marcus explains that certain goods produced by the colony, particularly fine needlework and simple wooden items, can be sold to merchants who maintain the proper distance and precautions. The money from these sales allows us to purchase things we can't make or grow ourselves. He says, salt, certain medicines, metal tools, cloth for clothing. It's not prosperity, but it's survival with dignity. Through your window, you watch other residents going about their daily activities. An older woman tends a vegetable garden, carefully weeding around what appear to be onions and cabbages. Two men work together to repair the thatched roof of one of the larger buildings. Their movements careful but competent, despite visible signs of the disease affecting their hands and feet. Most remarkably, you observe what appears to be a lesson taking place in the open area near the chapel. A group of children, actual children, with leprosy, sit in a circle while an adult reads to them from what looks like a religious text. The sight is both heartbreaking and oddly encouraging. These children will never have normal lives, but they're still receiving education and care. Yes, we have children here, Brother Marcus says, apparently noticing your attention. Some were born to residents. Others arrived with their families when entire households were affected. They're perhaps the most precious members of our community, and we do everything possible to ensure they have as normal a childhood as circumstances allow. The idea that children can be born in the colony and that families can remain together even after diagnosis provides a small comfort. Whatever else this place represents, it's not simply a repository for the dying. It's a community where life continues, where relationships endure, and where hope persists despite seemingly hopeless circumstances. Brother Marcus suggests that you spend the rest of the day resting and acclimating to your new surroundings. Tomorrow, he explains, you'll begin learning the specific routines and responsibilities that will structure your new life. This is overwhelming, he acknowledges, and it's natural to feel lost and frightened. But you'll find that life here has its own rhythms and satisfactions. We've learned to create meaning and dignity within circumstances that the outside world considers hopeless. As evening approaches and Brother Marcus departs, you're left alone with the strange sounds of the colony settling down for the night. The constant chiming of bells gradually diminishes as people return to their dwellings. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear voices singing, an evening hymn, perhaps, or just a song to mark the end of another day. The melody is hauntingly beautiful, carried on the evening air by voices that may be affected by disease, but still retain their essential humanity. It's the first sound since waking that doesn't fill you with dread, and you find yourself listening intently until the last notes fade into silence. You wake to the sound of a single bell ringing in the distance, not the warning bells carried by individuals, but a larger bell that apparently serves to mark the beginning of the colony's day. Dawn light filters through your small window, and you can hear movement and quiet conversation as the community begins its daily routine. Your body feels different from yesterday. Not necessarily worse, but foreign in ways that are difficult to describe. The skin on your hands and feet has that same waxy appearance, and the diminished sensation makes simple tasks like dressing yourself more challenging than they should be. Brother Marcus returns, maintaining his respectful distance while explaining the day's schedule. The community gathers for morning prayers in the chapel, followed by a communal breakfast in the main hall. After that, residents disperse to their various work assignments and responsibilities. Everyone contributes according to their abilities, he explains. We'll spend today determining what you can do and what you enjoy doing. The work isn't just about survival. It's about maintaining purpose and dignity. The walk to the chapel provides your first real view of the colony in daylight. The settlement is larger than you initially realized, spread across perhaps 10 acres of cleared land surrounded by forest. The buildings are simple but well maintained, with gardens and small plots of cultivated land between them. Other residents nod politely as you pass, their bells chiming softly with each step. Many have their faces partially covered, but their eyes are alert and engaged, despite the visible effects of the disease. There's an atmosphere of community and purpose that contradicts everything you thought you knew about leper colonies. The chapel is a modest wooden building with simple wooden benches and a small altar. Religious imagery decorates the walls. Carved wooden crosses, painted scenes from biblical stories, and inscriptions in Latin and English. Perhaps 20 residents gather for the morning service, ranging in age from children to elderly adults. The service itself is surprisingly uplifting. The priest, Father William, is himself a leper who came to the colony 5 years ago after his diagnosis. His sermon focuses on themes of redemption, community, and finding meaning in suffering. He speaks with genuine faith and conviction, not the desperate hope of someone clinging to religion as a last resort. We are not forgotten by God, he tells the congregation, nor are we abandoned by our fellow human beings. We have simply been called to live differently, to find grace in circumstances that others might consider graceless. The hymns that follow are sung with genuine enthusiasm, despite voices that may be affected by the disease. The music fills the small chapel with warmth and community spirit that makes the morning service feel like a celebration rather than a funeral for the living. After chapel comes breakfast in the communal hall, a larger building with long wooden tables and benches. The meal is simple but adequate: porridge with honey, bread, and small beer. More importantly, it's an opportunity to observe the social dynamics of the community. Conversations flow naturally around the tables, covering topics ranging from work assignments and weather to gossip about the outside world brought by recent arrivals. Children chatter excitedly about lessons and games, while adults discuss practical matters of colony management and upcoming projects. You're introduced to several residents who will become important parts of your new life. Margaret the Wise, an elderly woman who's been at the colony for over a decade and serves as an unofficial advisor on practical matters. Thomas the Builder, a middle-aged man who oversees construction and maintenance projects. Sister Joan, a former nun who manages the colony's medical care and herb garden. Each person you meet has a story, a life that was interrupted by disease, but is continued in modified form within the colony's boundaries. Their stories share common themes of initial despair, followed by gradual acceptance and eventual discovery of new purpose and meaning. The first weeks are the hardest, Margaret tells you as breakfast concludes. You're mourning the life you lost while trying to understand the life you're beginning. It's natural to feel angry, sad, and confused, but you'll find that this place has its own rewards and satisfactions. The conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a messenger from the outside world. A healthy man who maintains careful distance while delivering letters, supplies, and news from beyond the colony's borders. His presence creates excitement among the residents who gather to hear any news he might share about the outside world. The messenger reports on political developments, weather affecting crops, and occasionally news about former residents who may have been released after their conditions improved. These reports from the outside world serve as crucial connections to the broader society that has otherwise rejected the colony's residents after breakfast. Brother Marcus takes you on a tour of the colony's various work areas to help determine where you might best contribute to the community's welfare. Each area represents a different aspect of the colony's economy and demonstrates the residents' resourcefulness in creating sustainable livelihoods despite their social isolation. The gardens are perhaps the most impressive feature of the colony. Despite the challenges posed by disease-affected hands and diminished sensation, the residents have created productive plots that supply much of the community's food. Vegetables, herbs, and even some grain crops grow in carefully tended rows. While fruit trees provide seasonal variety to the diet, the work keeps our hands and minds active, explains Edmund, an older man who oversees much of the agricultural work. The soil doesn't care about our condition. It responds to effort and knowledge just the same. Edmund's hands show clear signs of leprosy, with some fingers missing or deformed, but he handles garden tools with practiced skill. He's developed techniques for working with diminished sensation and limited dexterity, using specially modified tools and methods that other residents can learn and adapt. The workshops present equally impressive examples of adaptation and ingenuity. In the woodworking area, craftsmen produce simple furniture, tools, and decorative items using techniques modified for hands affected by the disease. The needlework area showcases intricate embroidery and textile work that can be sold to outside merchants. We've learned that the disease affects everyone differently, explained Sarah, who manages the textile work. Some lose sensation in their fingers, others lose dexterity, and some experience both. But almost everyone can find some form of work. They can still perform effectively. The colony's medical area, overseen by Sister Joan, represents perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of the community's operations. Using knowledge gleaned from years of experience with the disease, the residents have developed treatments and management strategies that help slow progression and minimize suffering. We can't cure the disease, Sister Joan explains, but we can help people live with it more comfortably and maintain function longer than might otherwise be possible. Her treatments include herbal preparations that seem to help with pain and inflammation, techniques for protecting and caring for areas of diminished sensation, and exercises designed to maintain mobility and strength as long as possible. Most importantly, the medical area serves as a place where residents can discuss their fears and concerns about the disease's progression without judgment or false optimism. Sister Joan has lived with leprosy for 8 years and understands both the physical and psychological challenges better than any outside physician could. During your tour, you also learn about the colony's economic relationships with the outside world. Certain merchants are willing to trade with the colony, maintaining careful distance while purchasing goods and supplying materials that can't be produced locally. It's not charity, Brother Marcus explains. It's legitimate trade based on the quality of our work. We've earned respect for our craftsmanship, even if we can't earn acceptance for our persons. The economic activity provides crucial income for purchasing supplies and also serves an important psychological function. The residents aren't simply recipients of charity, but active participants in economic relationships that acknowledge their skills and contributions. By the end of your tour, you've identified several areas where you might contribute to the community's welfare. Your background and interests, combined with the practical limitations imposed by your condition, suggest that you might work well in the gardens or perhaps assist with record keeping and correspondence. The important thing, Brother Marcus reminds you, is finding work that provides both practical value to the community and personal satisfaction for yourself. We have time to experiment and find the right fit. The afternoon is spent beginning practical training in garden work under Edmonds' patient guidance. The work is challenging. Your hands don't respond quite as you expect, and you must concentrate on tasks that were once automatic. But there's also satisfaction in productive labor and the knowledge that your efforts contribute to the community's welfare. As your first week in the colony progresses, you begin to understand the complex social structures that govern daily life in this unique community. Unlike the outside world, where social hierarchy is based on birth, wealth, and political connections, the colony operates according to different principles that value contribution, experience, and character. Leadership in the colony is distributed among several individuals who've earned respect through years of service and demonstrated wisdom. Margaret the Wise serves as an unofficial council leader, helping resolve disputes and making decisions about resource allocation. Father William provides spiritual guidance and moral authority. Thomas the Builder oversees practical projects and infrastructure maintenance. We govern ourselves by consensus when possible, Margaret explains during one of your conversations. Major decisions are discussed in community meetings where everyone can voice their opinions. It's not always efficient, but it ensures that everyone feels heard and valued. The colony's approach to conflict resolution particularly interests you, since residents can't simply leave when disputes arise. They've developed sophisticated methods for addressing disagreements and maintaining harmony. Mediation sessions, supervised by respected community members, help resolve conflicts before they escalate into serious problems. Living in close quarters with people you can't escape from teaches you to work through problems rather than avoid them, observes Thomas during a discussion about colony governance. It's made us all better at communication and compromise. The treatment of children in the colony reveals another important aspect of the community's values. Despite the tragic circumstances that brought them here, children are treasured and protected. Adults who may have lost their own families in the outside world often become surrogate parents and guardians for the young residents. Education continues despite the colony's isolation. Several residents who had formal education before their diagnosis serve as teachers, providing instruction in reading, writing, arithmetic, and religious studies. The lessons take place in the chapel during certain hours, with simple materials and books acquired through trading relationships. These children will likely never leave the colony, Father William explains, but they deserve the same intellectual and spiritual development that any child should receive. Knowledge and learning are gifts that the disease can't take away. The colony also maintains its own justice system for addressing serious violations of community rules. While minor disputes are handled through mediation, more serious offenses, theft, violence, or failure to maintain proper health precautions, are addressed through formal hearings conducted by a council of senior residents. We can't rely on outside authorities for justice, Margaret explains, so we've had to develop our own systems for maintaining order and protecting the community's welfare. The punishments available to the colony are limited but effective. Social isolation within an already isolated community is particularly powerful. Loss of privileges, extra work duties, and exclusion from community activities serve as deterrents to antisocial behavior. Your integration into this social structure happens gradually, as residents evaluate your character and determine how you'll fit into existing relationships and hierarchies. The process is neither harsh nor judgmental, simply careful. Recognizing that personality conflicts in such a confined community can have serious consequences. Evening gatherings in the communal hall provide opportunities for informal social interaction that helps build relationships and maintain community cohesion. Stories are shared, songs are sung, and games are played that accommodate the physical limitations imposed by the disease. Entertainment may seem frivolous, observes Sister Joan, but joy and laughter are medicines that we can't afford to do without. They remind us that we're still fully human, despite what the outside world believes about our condition. The storytelling traditions are particularly rich, combining folk tales from residents' original communities with new stories that have emerged from colony life. These narratives serve multiple functions: preserving cultural knowledge, providing entertainment, and creating shared mythology that strengthens community bonds. After 2 weeks in the colony, you've settled into routines that provide structure and meaning to days that might otherwise feel endless and hopeless. The rhythm of work, worship, and community interaction creates a framework for normal life within abnormal circumstances. Your mornings begin with the community bell, followed by personal preparations that now include careful inspection of your skin for changes or new symptoms. This daily self-examination, taught by Sister Joan, serves both practical and psychological purposes, monitoring the disease's progression while maintaining awareness of your body's condition. Garden work has become your primary responsibility, and you've discovered unexpected satisfaction in coaxing life from the soil, despite hands that don't always respond as they should. Edmund has taught you techniques for working with diminished sensation, using tools with larger handles, relying more on visual cues than touch, and developing new muscle memory patterns. The garden teaches patience, Edmund observes as you work together one morning. Plants grow at their own pace, regardless of our impatience or anxiety. There's comfort in that rhythm, especially when your own body feels unpredictable. The vegetables you tend will feed the community through the coming winter, and this knowledge provides purpose that transcends your personal circumstances. The work connects you to seasons and cycles that continue regardless of human suffering, offering perspective on your own situation. Afternoons often involve community projects that require cooperation between residents with different skills and abilities. This week, the community is working together to repair storm damage to one of the larger buildings, with everyone contributing what they can to the effort. You've been assigned to assist with measuring and planning, tasks that accommodate your current abilities while contributing meaningfully to the project. Thomas the Builder has shown you how to use modified measuring tools and techniques that work even with reduced sensation in your fingertips. Every project teaches us something new about working together, Thomas explains as you help plan roof repairs. We learn to accommodate each other's limitations while maximizing everyone's contributions. It's made us more creative and resourceful than we ever were before. The evening meal has become one of your favorite parts of the day. The communal dining experience provides opportunities for conversation, new sharing, and social connection that help maintain mental and emotional health. Tonight's dinner includes vegetables from the garden you've been tending, creating a direct connection between your labor and the community's welfare. Conversations at dinner range from practical matters, weather affecting the gardens, supply needs, upcoming projects, to more personal topics like memories of life before the colony and hopes for the future. These discussions help maintain connections to the broader human experience while acknowledging the unique circumstances of colony life. After dinner, residents often gather in small groups for various activities. Some work on crafts that can be traded with outside merchants. Others engage in games adapted for hands affected by the disease. Many simply enjoy conversation and companionship, the human connection that remains precious despite physical limitations. You've begun participating in the evening storytelling circle, where residents share tales from their past lives and create new stories inspired by colony experiences. Tonight, Margaret tells a story about a kingdom where the supposedly cursed citizens turn out to be the wisest and most compassionate people in the realm. Stories help us understand our experiences, she explains after finishing her tale. They give meaning to suffering and help us see possibilities we might not otherwise notice. The colony's approach to nighttime routines reflects practical necessities while maintaining dignity and privacy. Residents retire to their individual dwellings as darkness falls, but a system of volunteer watchmen ensures that help is available. If anyone experiences medical emergencies during the night, your own evening routine has evolved to include reading by candlelight when materials are available, prayer or meditation that helps process the day's experiences, and careful preparation for sleep that takes into account the physical discomforts that can accompany the disease. Sleep comes more easily now than it did during your first nights in the colony. The exhaustion from physical labor, combined with the emotional comfort of community belonging, helps overcome the anxiety and disorientation that initially made rest difficult. Dreams remain complicated, sometimes featuring memories of your previous life, sometimes processing fears about the disease's progression, and sometimes imagining possibilities for meaningful existence within the colony's boundaries. But they're no longer the nightmares that characterized your first week here. 3 weeks into your residence at the colony, the spiritual aspects of communal life have become increasingly important in helping you process the profound changes in your circumstances and identity. The colony's approach to faith and meaning-making offers frameworks for understanding suffering that go beyond simple religious consolation. Father William's morning sermons address questions that are central to the residents' daily experience. Why do the innocent suffer? How can faith survive when prayers seem unanswered? What does it mean to be made in God's image when society treats you as less than human? Our condition, he explains during one particularly moving service, forces us to confront questions that most people can avoid or postpone. We can't take health, acceptance, or future plans for granted. This clarity, painful as it is, can become a spiritual advantage if we allow it to deepen our understanding of what truly matters. His theology emphasizes the inherent dignity of all human beings, regardless of physical condition, social status, or others' perceptions. This message resonates powerfully with residents who've experienced complete social rejection based solely on their medical diagnosis. The colony's religious practices blend traditional Christian observances with adaptations that acknowledge the residents' unique circumstances. Prayer services include specific petitions for strength to endure physical and emotional challenges, wisdom to find meaning in suffering, and grace to maintain hope despite uncertain futures. But perhaps more importantly, the spiritual dimension extends beyond formal religious observance to encompass the community's entire approach to living with dignity despite adversity. The daily choices to treat each other with respect, to find beauty in simple things, and to maintain hope against overwhelming odds all represent acts of faith. You've begun participating in the colony's informal spiritual discussions, evening gatherings where residents share their struggles with questions of meaning and purpose. These conversations provide opportunities to explore doubts, fears, and insights without judgment or pressure to accept particular doctrinal positions. I used to think faith meant believing that God would cure me or rescue me from this situation, shares Mary, a woman who's been at the colony for 3 years. Now I'm learning that faith might mean finding ways to live fully and meaningfully within the situation I've been given. The colony's approach to death and dying reflects its spiritual values while acknowledging practical realities. When residents die, and some do, from disease progression or other causes, the community observes mourning rituals that honor their memory while affirming the continuing value of life for those who remain. You attended your first funeral during your 3rd week for an elderly man named Peter, who had been at the colony for nearly 15 years, rather than focusing on the tragedy of his condition. The service celebrated his contributions to the community and the relationships he had built during his time there. Peter lived well within the circumstances he was given, Father William said during the funeral service. He found ways to serve others, to maintain dignity, and to create meaning despite conditions that others might consider meaningless. That's a form of heroism that deserves recognition and respect. The colony maintains a small cemetery where residents are buried with dignity and care. The graves are marked with simple wooden crosses bearing names and dates, but also brief inscriptions that celebrate the deceased's contributions to community life. These funeral observations serve multiple purposes for the living residents. They provide closure and grieving rituals that help process loss. They affirm the value and dignity of lives that the outside world might consider worthless. And they offer examples of how to live meaningfully despite terminal diagnoses and social rejection. Prayer practices in the colony accommodate the physical limitations that many residents experience. Kneeling may be difficult or impossible for those with affected legs or feet, so standing and sitting prayers are equally acceptable. Hand positions for prayer are modified for those who've lost fingers or sensation. God knows our hearts, Father William reminds residents who worry about their inability to perform traditional religious gestures. Physical limitations don't create spiritual barriers unless we allow them to. The colony's spiritual life also includes celebrations and festivals that mark religious holidays and seasonal changes. These observances provide opportunities for joy and community bonding that transcend the daily challenges of living with disease. Christmas and Easter are particularly important celebrations, featuring special meals, gift exchanges with handmade items, and religious pageants performed by residents. These events create positive memories and shared experiences that strengthen community bonds while providing emotional relief from ongoing hardships. Personal spiritual practices vary among residents, reflecting their diverse backgrounds and individual relationships with faith. Some maintain elaborate private devotions, others prefer simple prayers, and a few explore spiritual questions without committing to particular religious frameworks. You've developed your own evolving spiritual practice that combines elements from traditional prayer with meditation on acceptance and meaning-making. This personal exploration helps process the emotional challenges of your situation while maintaining hope for purposeful existence within the colony's boundaries. A month into your residence, you've gained deeper understanding of how the colony maintains itself economically despite complete social isolation from mainstream society. The community operates a sophisticated economy that combines subsistence, production, craft manufacturing, and limited trade with the outside world. The agricultural foundation of the colony's economy extends beyond simple food production to include herbs for medicine, flax for textile production, and specialty crops that can be processed into trade goods. Every available plot of land is utilized efficiently, with residents applying knowledge from their previous lives to maximize productivity. We've learned to see potential value in everything, explains Edmund as he shows you the colony's expanded agricultural operations. Herbs that others might consider weeds become medicines in Sister Joan's preparations. Plants that seem useless provide materials for crafts or trade goods. The textile production area has become particularly sophisticated, producing items that command respect and fair prices from outside merchants. Residents with experience in spinning, weaving, and needlework have taught their skills to others, creating a production system that accommodates various levels of ability and physical limitation. Our needlework is actually superior to much of what's produced in regular towns, explains Sarah as she demonstrates a complex embroidery technique. We have time for detail and care that rushed commercial production doesn't allow. Merchants recognize quality work regardless of who produces it. The woodworking and tool-making operations provide both practical items for colony use and trade. Goods for external sale. Residents have developed techniques for producing quality work despite hands affected by disease, using modified tools and collaborative methods that maximize everyone's contributions. Thomas the Builder has become particularly innovative in developing new techniques and tools that accommodate physical limitations while maintaining quality standards. His workshop serves as both production facility and training center where residents learn skills that provide both practical value and personal satisfaction. Useful work gives people dignity, Thomas observes as he helps you learn to use woodworking tools modified for reduced sensation. When we produce something valuable, we remember that we're still capable and productive human beings. The colonies. Trading relationships with outside merchants require careful management to maintain both economic viability and health safety. Designated trading areas allow for commerce while minimizing contact between healthy merchants and colony residents. Brother Marcus has become the colony's primary trade representative, maintaining relationships with merchants who are willing to deal with the community despite social prejudices. These relationships require patience and persistence, as many potential trading partners are initially reluctant to do business with a leper colony. It took years to establish reliable trading relationships, Brother Marcus explains. We had to prove that we could produce quality goods consistently, and that trade with us didn't pose health risks to merchants who took proper precautions. The money earned from trade allows the colony to purchase essential supplies that can't be produced locally: metal tools, certain medicines, salt for food preservation, and occasional luxury items that provide psychological comfort to residents. Financial management in the colony operates on principles of collective ownership and democratic decision-making. Major purchases are discussed in community meetings, with input from residents who have relevant expertise or strong opinions about priorities. We don't have individual wealth here, Margaret explains during a discussion about colony finances. Everything belongs to the community collectively. This creates both security and responsibility. Everyone benefits from wise decisions and suffers from poor ones. The colony maintains careful records of production, trade, and financial transactions. These records serve multiple purposes, ensuring fair distribution of resources, planning for future needs, and documenting the community's economic success to outside authorities who might question the colony's viability. Individual residents receive personal allowances for small purchases and luxury items, distributed fairly based on contribution and need rather than traditional economic hierarchies. This system ensures that everyone has some personal autonomy while maintaining collective solidarity. Personal choice matters for dignity, observed Sister Joan, even when the choices are small ones. Being able to choose your own small luxuries, a particular type of soap, a favored food, a book or writing materials, helps maintain individual identity within communal living. The seasonal rhythms of agricultural work create periods of intensive labor alternating with times for craft production and community projects. This variation helps prevent the monotony that could develop in such a confined social environment. Harvest time particularly demonstrates the colony's collective labor principles, with every able-bodied resident contributing to gathering and processing crops that will sustain the community through winter. The work is physically demanding but emotionally rewarding, providing tangible evidence of the community's productivity and self-sufficiency. 6 weeks into your residence, you've observed how the colony manages the human need for companionship, intimacy, and family relationships within the constraints imposed by disease and social isolation. These aspects of community life reveal both the resilience of human connection and the creative adaptations necessary for maintaining emotional health. Romantic relationships do develop within the colony, though they're complicated by medical considerations and the knowledge that any children born to colony residents will likely share their parents' fate. Couples who find each other here approach relationships with particular intentionality and commitment. Love doesn't stop existing because of disease, observes Margaret during one of your evening conversations. If anything, the shared experience of suffering and isolation can deepen connections between people who truly understand each other's circumstances. You've witnessed the courtship between Robert and Catherine, two residents who arrived at the colony several months apart and have gradually developed a strong romantic attachment. Their relationship unfolds with careful consideration of practical realities, while maintaining the essential human joy of discovering love. Marriage ceremonies in the colony are performed by Father William, with community celebration that acknowledges both the happiness of the couple and the challenges they'll face together. These weddings become community events that provide hope and joy for all residents. We celebrate love wherever we find it, Father William explains. These relationships remind us that our capacity for connection and commitment survives even the most difficult circumstances. The colony has developed its own customs around marriage and family formation that accommodate the unique challenges posed by leprosy. Couples planning to marry receive counseling about disease progression, practical considerations of shared living space, and the possibility of having children who will face the same challenges. Children in the colony receive special attention and care from the entire community, not just their biological parents. This collective approach to child rearing ensures that young residents have multiple sources of support, guidance, and affection. Every child here belongs to all of us, explains Elena, a woman whose own children were taken from her when she was diagnosed. We all share responsibility for their welfare and development. It's one way we can channel parental love, even when our own families have been separated from us. The educational system for children reflects this communal approach, with various adults contributing their knowledge and skills to ensure comprehensive learning. Former teachers, craftspeople, and educated residents all participate in preparing young people for lives that will likely be spent entirely within the colony. Friendships among adults develop along lines of shared interests, compatible personalities, and mutual support during difficult times. These relationships often become as important as family connections, providing emotional support that helps Residents cope with the psychological challenges of their situation. You've developed a particularly close friendship with William, a former merchant who arrived at the colony shortly before you. Your shared experience of recent diagnosis and adjustment creates understanding that deepens through daily interaction and mutual support. Having someone who understands what you're going through makes everything more bearable. William observes during one of your regular evening walks around the colony grounds. We're facing the same fears and challenges, so we can help each other without having to explain or justify our feelings. The colony addresses physical intimacy with practical understanding while maintaining appropriate boundaries and privacy. Married couples receive private accommodation when possible, and single residents are provided with personal space that allows for dignity and solitude. Physical affection remains important for emotional health. Sister Joan explains during a discussion about relationship guidance. We try to balance individual needs with community welfare, recognizing that isolation from touch and intimacy can worsen both physical and mental health. Conflict resolution in relationships receives particular attention because personal disputes can affect the entire community in such close quarters. Mediation services help couples work through difficulties while preventing private problems from becoming public disruptions. The colony has also developed support systems for residents whose relationships with family members outside the colony have been severed by their diagnosis. Letter writing assistance helps maintain contact when possible, and grief counseling helps process the loss when family rejection is complete. Some families maintain connection despite the diagnosis, Margaret explains, but many don't. Learning to grieve these losses while building new relationships here is part of everyone's adjustment process. Mentorship relationships develop naturally between longtime residents and newcomers, providing guidance that goes beyond practical orientation to include emotional support and wisdom about living meaningfully within the colony's constraints. Your own mentor relationship with Brother Marcus has evolved beyond initial orientation to ongoing friendship and support. His guidance helps you navigate both practical challenges and emotional difficulties as you continue adjusting to your new life circumstances. The first year is particularly challenging, Brother Marcus shares during one of your regular conversations. You're grieving your old life while trying to build a new one. Having someone who's made that journey successfully can make the difference between despair and hope. 2 months into your residence, autumn's arrival brings dramatic changes to the colony's routines and atmosphere. The seasonal transition provides opportunities to observe how the community adapts to changing conditions while maintaining stability and morale during potentially difficult periods. Harvest activities dominate the early autumn weeks, with every able-bodied resident contributing to gathering and preserving the crops that will sustain the community through winter. The work is physically demanding but emotionally uplifting, providing tangible evidence of the community's productivity and self-sufficiency. Harvest time reminds us that we're still connected to natural cycles that continue regardless of our personal circumstances. Edmund observes as you help gather the last of the vegetables from your garden plots. There's comfort in participating in rhythms that are larger than our individual struggles. The preservation activities that follow harvest require knowledge and skills that residents share generously with newcomers. You learn techniques for drying vegetables, making preserves, and storing root crops that will remain edible throughout the cold months ahead. Food preservation becomes a community project that strengthens social bonds while ensuring survival. Residents work together in small groups, sharing stories and songs while performing repetitive tasks that might otherwise be tedious. Winter preparation brings us together. Observe Sarah as she teaches you to prepare dried herbs for Sister Joan's medical supplies. We're working for our collective survival, which creates a sense of purpose and cooperation that carries us through difficult months. The colony's approach to autumn also includes preparations for the psychological challenges of winter isolation. Additional supplies of materials for indoor crafts and activities are gathered or purchased, ensuring that residents will have productive ways to spend long indoor hours. Fuel gathering becomes a priority, with able-bodied residents collecting fallen wood and preparing peat for the fires that will provide warmth during cold months. The work requires cooperation and planning to ensure adequate supplies without depleting forest, resources that the colony depends on long-term. We have to balance immediate needs with long-term sustainability, Thomas explains as he organizes wood-gathering expeditions. We can't afford to damage the environment that supports us, so we take only what we need and always plan for future years. The change in weather affects residents differently, depending on how the disease has progressed in their individual cases. Some find that cold weather increases joint pain and stiffness, while others experience different symptoms related to circulation and nerve function. Sister Joan adjusts her medical care routines to address seasonal health challenges, preparing specialized treatments and monitoring residents who are particularly vulnerable to weather-related complications. Cold weather can be challenging for people with our condition, she explains while organizing medical supplies for winter. But we've learned techniques for staying warm and comfortable that help minimize seasonal difficulties. The colonies' social activities adapt to shorter daylight hours and increased indoor time. Evening gatherings become more frequent and elaborate, featuring extended storytelling sessions, musical performances, and craft projects that can be completed by lamplight. Winter brings us closer together, Margaret observes during one of the extended evening gatherings. When we spend more time indoors, we rely more heavily on each other for entertainment and companionship. It's not always easy, but it can deepen relationships and community bonds. The religious calendar takes on additional importance during autumn and winter, providing structure and meaning during months that might otherwise feel endless. Special services mark important feast days and seasonal transitions, creating anticipation and celebration that break up long stretches of routine. Father William's sermons during autumn focus on themes of preparation, gratitude, and trust in divine providence during uncertain times. These messages resonate particularly strongly with residents who face both seasonal challenges and ongoing uncertainty about disease progression. Autumn teaches us about endings and beginnings, he explains. During a service focused on seasonal transitions, we let go of summer's abundance while preparing for winter's challenges, trusting that spring will come again, even when we can't see beyond the immediate difficulties. The approaching winter also brings concerns about supply deliveries and contact with the outside world. Weather can make travel difficult, potentially isolating the colony even more completely from external support and trade relationships. Winter planning requires careful balance between optimism and realism. Brother Marcus explains as he reviews supply inventories. We hope for the best while preparing for worse conditions than we expect. Self-sufficiency becomes even more important when we can't rely on outside assistance. Personal preparations for winter include psychological as well as physical adjustments. Residents who have been at the colony for multiple winters share advice about maintaining mental health during months of limited sunlight and outdoor activity. Your own preparation includes establishing indoor routines that will provide structure and purpose during long winter days. Reading materials, craft projects, and indoor exercises help create frameworks for meaningful activity when outdoor work becomes impossible. 3 months into your residence, winter settles over the colony with a severity that tests both physical resources and community resilience. The cold months reveal how the community has learned to maintain morale and functionality during the most challenging period of the annual cycle. Snow covers the colony grounds for weeks at a time, transforming the familiar landscape into something alien and beautiful. The buildings take on additional importance as centers of warmth and social activity, while outdoor work becomes limited to essential maintenance and emergency repairs. Winter strips away everything but essentials, observes Thomas as he checks the integrity of buildings stressed by cold and wind. We learn what truly matters for survival and what's merely convenient during easier times. The reduced daylight affects everyone's mood and energy levels, but the community has developed strategies for combating the depression and lethargy that can accompany long winter months. Increased social activities, special meals, and deliberately planned celebrations help maintain psychological health. Indoor craft work becomes particularly important during winter, providing productive activity that generates trade goods while offering personal satisfaction and social interaction. The workshops buzz with activity as residents create items that will be traded for essential supplies when spring returns. Productive work helps us maintain dignity and purpose, even when we're confined indoors, explains Sarah as she works on an intricate piece of embroidery. When we create something beautiful or useful, we remember that we're still capable and valuable human beings. The colony's food stores prove adequate for basic nutrition, though the diet becomes monotonous during the longest winter months. Preserved vegetables, grains, and occasional hunting provide sustenance, while herb teas and medicinal preparations help maintain health during cold weather. Medical challenges increase during winter, as cold weather exacerbates some symptoms of leprosy while creating new health problems. Sister Joan works tirelessly to provide care and comfort, adapting treatments to address seasonal difficulties. Cold weather affects circulation and joint function, she explains while treating residents for winter-related complications. We have to be particularly careful about preventing injuries to areas where sensation is diminished, since cold can mask warning signs of damage. The psychological challenges of winter isolation test the community's social structures and coping mechanisms. Personal conflicts that might be minor during busy seasons can escalate when people spend more time in close quarters with limited outlets for tension. Winter brings out both the best and worst in people, Margaret observes during a particularly tense period when personality conflicts threaten community harmony. We have to work harder at understanding and forgiving each other when we can't escape each other's company. The colony's conflict resolution mechanisms become especially important during winter months. Mediation sessions help address disputes before they escalate into serious problems that could affect community cohesion during a critical survival period. Religious observances provide crucial structure and meaning during the darkest months of winter. Christmas celebrations become particularly elaborate, featuring special meals, gift exchanges, and religious pageants that create joy and anticipation during an otherwise difficult season. Celebration becomes an act of defiance against despair. Father William explains during a Christmas service, when we choose joy despite our circumstances, we affirm our humanity and our faith in ultimate meaning and purpose. The Christmas celebration reveals the community's creativity and resourcefulness in creating beauty and meaning from limited materials. Handmade decorations, simple gifts crafted during long winter evenings, and special foods prepared from preserved ingredients combine to create genuine festivity. Personal gift-giving during Christmas takes on special significance in a community where material possessions are limited. Residents create thoughtful presents that reflect personal relationships and individual preferences, demonstrating care and attention despite economic constraints. Gifts matter more when resources are limited. You observe as you present Brother Marcus with a small wooden carving you've been working on during evening hours. The time and thought invested become more valuable than the material cost. The gift exchange reveals the depth of relationships that have developed within the community. Thoughtful presents reflect genuine understanding of individual personalities and preferences, while handmade items demonstrate investment of time and skill that have particular value in a subsistence economy. Winter storytelling sessions become more elaborate and frequent, featuring extended narratives that can occupy entire evenings. Residents share tales from their previous lives, folk stories from their original communities, and new narratives inspired by colony experiences. Stories help us travel beyond these walls without leaving them. Margaret explains during one of the extended storytelling evenings. Through narrative, we can visit places we'll never see again and experience adventures we'll never have in person. The stories serve multiple functions during long winter nights: entertainment, cultural preservation, and psychological escape from immediate circumstances. They also provide frameworks for understanding and processing the residents' shared experience of loss, adaptation, and discovery of new meaning. 4 months into your residence, the depths of winter bring the year's greatest challenges while also revealing the community's remarkable capacity for endurance and mutual support. The coldest, darkest weeks test everyone's physical and emotional resources while demonstrating the resilience that makes survival possible. Food supplies reach their lowest point during late winter, requiring careful rationing and creative preparation of remaining stores. The community's survival depends on preserving the delicate balance between adequate nutrition and making supplies last until spring harvests become available. Winter teaches us the difference between wants and needs. Edmund observes as he distributes carefully measured portions of preserved vegetables. We learn to find satisfaction in simple sustenance while planning for the abundance that will return with growing season. Medical challenges intensify during the coldest months, as residents with compromised immune systems become more vulnerable to seasonal illnesses. Sister Joan works with limited supplies to provide care while preventing the spread of contagious diseases that could devastate the isolated community. Isolation usually protects us from diseases that affect the outside world, she explains while treating residents for winter ailments. But it also means we have little immunity to illnesses that do reach us. Prevention becomes even more important than treatment. The psychological toll of extended isolation and confinement reaches its peak during late winter. Residents who normally maintain positive attitudes struggle with depression and despair, while personality conflicts that have simmered for months sometimes erupt into serious disputes. The darkest part of winter tests everyone's emotional reserves. Margaret acknowledges during a community meeting called to address increasing tensions. We have to support each other through difficulties while being honest about our own struggles. Community meetings become more frequent during this challenging period, providing opportunities for residents to voice concerns and frustrations. While working together to address practical and emotional problems, these sessions demonstrate the democratic principles that govern colony life. Open communication prevents small problems from becoming big ones. Father William observes, after mediating a dispute between residents who had been avoiding each other for weeks, when we can't escape each other's company, we have to learn to work through difficulties rather than around them. The colonies' approach to mental health during winter includes increased emphasis on activities that provide purpose and accomplishment. Craft projects, educational sessions, and community service opportunities help residents maintain self-respect and social connection. Indoor exercises become particularly important as physical activity becomes limited by weather and confinement. Residents who are able develop movement routines that help maintain strength and flexibility while providing outlets for restless energy. Physical activity affects mental health. Sister Joan explains while leading a session of simple exercises adapted for various physical limitations. When we move our bodies purposefully, we feel more capable and optimistic about other challenges we're facing. The workshop areas become centers of intensive activity during the worst winter weather. Residents spend long hours producing trade goods that will provide income when spring returns, while the work itself provides psychological benefits of productivity and accomplishment. Useful work helps us maintain dignity during our most vulnerable times. Thomas observes while overseeing expanded woodworking activities. When we create something valuable, We remember that we're still capable and contributing members of the community. Music becomes increasingly important during the darkest winter weeks, with residents gathering for informal concerts and singing sessions that provide emotional release and community bonding. Simple instruments and group singing create joy that transcends immediate hardships. Music connects us to emotions and experiences beyond our current circumstances, explains Peter, a resident who plays a simple wooden flute he carved himself. When we make music together, we create beauty that proves our lives still have meaning and value. The colony's approach to celebrating smaller winter festivals and observances helps break up long stretches of routine and provides anticipation that makes difficult days more bearable. Even simple acknowledgments of calendar milestones become important markers of time's passage. Reading and educational activities expand during winter months when artificial light allows for extended indoor study. Residents with literacy skills share books and teach reading to others, while knowledge from various backgrounds gets pooled for everyone's benefit. Learning continues regardless of our circumstances. Father William explains during one of the winter educational sessions. Knowledge and understanding are gifts that can't be taken away from us, and sharing them enriches the entire community. Personal reflection and prayer become more intense during winter's depths, as residents confront their mortality and search for meaning in circumstances that might seem meaningless. These spiritual explorations often lead to deeper faith and acceptance. Winter strips away distractions and forces us to confront essential questions about life and meaning. Father William observes during a service focused on endurance and hope. The answers we find during our darkest times often become our most reliable sources of strength. 5 months into your residence, the first signs of spring's approach bring profound emotional relief and renewed energy to the community. The lengthening days and gradual warming represent not just seasonal change, but affirmation that cycles of renewal continue despite personal and collective suffering. The earliest spring preparations begin while snow still covers the ground, as residents start planning garden layouts and reviewing seed supplies saved from the previous year's harvest. These activities provide hopeful focus for energy and attention that has been confined by winter's limitations. Planning the spring garden reminds us that the future exists. Edmund explains as he sketches proposed layouts for expanded vegetable plots. When we plant seeds, we're making an act of faith that we'll be here to harvest what grows from them. Workshop activity intensifies as residents prepare trade goods that will be exchanged for supplies needed for spring planning and construction projects. The winter's craft production reaches completion as items are finished and prepared for the trading season that will begin when travel becomes reliable again. Spring preparation requires balancing optimism with realism. Brother Marcus observes while inventorying completed trade goods. We hope for successful trading relationships, while preparing for the possibility that some partnerships may not survive winter's interruption. The first contacts with the outside world after winter isolation bring both excitement and anxiety. Messages from family members, news about political developments, and information about disease outbreaks or medical discoveries arrive with the earliest spring travelers. Medical supply deliveries become crucial as Sister Joan's winter stores run low and seasonal. Health challenges require fresh preparations. The arrival of new medicines and medical supplies often determines which residents will thrive during the coming year. Spring represents renewal of our connection to the broader world. Sister Joan explains while reviewing her depleted medical stores. We depend on outside resources for some of our most essential needs. So, re-establishing those connections becomes vital for community health. The psychological impact of emerging from winter's depths affects everyone differently. As residents process the experiences of surviving another challenging season while looking forward to months of increased activity and social contact, each spring feels like a rebirth. Margaret reflects during one of the first outdoor gatherings possible after winter's confinement. We've survived another test of our endurance and resourcefulness, which gives us confidence for facing whatever challenges lie ahead. Community projects deferred during winter weather become priorities as soon as conditions allow outdoor work. To resume, building repairs, infrastructure improvements, and expansion projects provide productive outlets for energy that has been building during months of confinement. Personal relationships that were strained by winter stresses often find resolution and renewal as expanded activities and improved conditions reduce tensions and provide new opportunities for positive interaction. Spring forgiveness becomes a community tradition. Father William observes during a service focused on renewal and reconciliation. We let go of winter's accumulated grievances and conflicts, starting fresh relationships as we start fresh gardens. The spring planting season requires intensive community cooperation as residents work together to prepare soil, plant seeds, and establish irrigation systems that will support the coming year's food production. The work is physically demanding but emotionally rewarding. Planting connects us to hope and faith in ways that few other activities can match. You observe while helping to plant the early spring vegetables that will provide fresh food after months of preserved rations. Every seed represents trust that life will continue and improve. The renewed contact with traveling merchants and occasional visitors brings news about developments in the outside world that may affect the colony's welfare. Political changes, economic conditions, and social movements all have potential implications. For the community's future, we live in isolation, but we're not immune to changes in the broader world. Brother Marcus explains after meeting with merchants who bring news about new laws affecting leper colonies. We have to stay informed about developments that might affect our safety and sustainability. The spring return of migrating birds and the emergence of wild flowers provide simple pleasures that take on profound significance for residents who've been isolated from natural beauty during winter months. These signs of renewal offer hope that transcends immediate circumstances. Educational activities expand as improved lighting and weather conditions allow for extended learning sessions. New residents who arrive during winter receive intensive orientation to colony life, while longtime residents pursue advanced studies in subjects that interest them. Learning continues throughout our lives. Father William explains during a spring educational planning session. Knowledge gives us dignity and purpose that can't be taken away, regardless of our physical condition or social circumstances. 6 months into your residence, spring's full arrival transforms both the physical landscape and the community's emotional atmosphere. The season of renewal provides opportunities to observe how the colony adapts to changing conditions while building on lessons learned during the challenging winter months. The spring garden work reveals how much you've learned and adapted since your arrival. Tasks that seemed impossible 6 months ago now feel natural, as you've developed techniques for working with diminished sensation while contributing meaningfully to the community's food production. Adaptation becomes second nature when survival depends on it. Edmund observes as you work together to plant the main crop vegetables that will feed the community through the coming year. You've learned to work with your limitations rather than against them. The successful emergence of early spring crops provides both practical nutrition and psychological encouragement. Fresh greens and herbs offer welcome variety after months of preserved foods, while the visual evidence of growth and renewal lifts spirits throughout the community. New residents arriving with spring bring fresh perspectives and skills while requiring orientation to colony life. Your own experience as a relative newcomer proves valuable in helping even newer arrivals understand and adapt to their circumstances. Helping others adjust gives your own experience meaning. Margaret observes as you assist a recently arrived family in learning colony routines. When we can ease someone else's transition, our own struggles become worthwhile. The spring trading season opens with merchants eager to acquire the craft goods produced during winter months. The successful exchanges provide income for essential supplies while validating the quality and value of the community's productive efforts. Our reputation for quality work has grown. Brother Marcus reports after a particularly successful trading session. Merchants specifically seek out our goods because they know they're getting superior craftsmanship and attention to detail. Construction projects deferred during winter weather begin in earnest, with community cooperation focused on expanding housing, improving workshops, and maintaining infrastructures. These projects provide productive work while improving living conditions for all residents. The physical demands of construction work require creative adaptations for residents whose condition affects their strength or dexterity. Thomas the Builder has become expert at designing tasks that maximize everyone's contributions while ensuring safety and quality results. The building projects bring out everyone's skills and creativity. Thomas explains while overseeing construction of additional workshop space. We learn to work together in ways that accommodate individual limitations while achieving collective goals. The spring religious calendar provides multiple opportunities for celebration and community bonding. Easter observances become particularly meaningful for residents who've survived another winter and are experiencing literal as well as spiritual renewal. Resurrection themes resonate powerfully with people who've experienced social death and discovered new life. Father William explains during Easter preparations, we understand renewal and second chances in ways that others might not fully appreciate. Personal relationships often undergo significant development during spring months, as improved conditions and expanded activities provide new opportunities for connection and intimacy. Several couples announce engagement plans made during winter's introspective months. Spring brings hope for the future that makes commitment feel possible, observes Robert as he announces his engagement to Catherine after a courtship that developed. During winter months, when we believe in tomorrow, we can plan for shared tomorrows. The colony's approach to mental health emphasizes the psychological benefits of productive work, meaningful relationships, and connection to natural cycles. Spring's return demonstrates the effectiveness of these strategies in maintaining resilience and hope. Mental health depends on having reasons to get up each morning. Sister Joan observes while conducting her spring health assessments. Purpose, relationships, and hope for improvement all contribute to psychological wellness, even in difficult circumstances. Educational programs expand to include practical skills needed for the colony's growing economic activities. Residents learn new craft techniques, agricultural methods, and business skills that increase both individual capability and community prosperity. Continuous learning keeps minds active and spirits engaged. Father William explains during planning for expanded educational offerings. When we're growing intellectually, we feel more capable of handling other challenges. The spring migration season brings visitors and news from the outside world that help the colony maintain connections beyond its physical boundaries. Letters from family members, reports about political developments, and information about medical advances all provide links to broader human experience. Contact with the outside world reminds us that we're still part of human society, even if we're physically separated from it. Margaret observes after receiving news from her former community. These connections help us maintain perspective on our place in the larger world. Personal reflection on 6 months of colony life reveals how profoundly the experience has changed your understanding of disability, community, and meaning. The transformation goes beyond simply adapting to new circumstances to encompass fundamental shifts in values and priorities. 7 months into your residence, the relationships you formed within the colony have deepened into connections that provide emotional sustenance and practical support. These bonds demonstrate how human community can flourish even under the most challenging circumstances. Your friendship with William has evolved into something approaching brotherhood. built on shared experience of diagnosis, adjustment, and gradual acceptance of colony life. Regular conversations provide opportunities to process ongoing challenges, while celebrating small victories and growth. Having someone who truly understands what you're going through makes all the difference. William reflects during one of your evening walks around the colony grounds. We don't have to explain or justify our feelings because we've both lived through the same experiences. The mentorship relationship with Brother Marcus has shifted toward genuine friendship as your own adjustment progresses and you begin helping newer residents with their orientation. This evolution demonstrates your growing integration into the community's social structure. Teaching others helps consolidate your own learning. Brother Marcus observes as you assist a recently arrived family. When you can guide someone else through challenges you've faced, you realize how much you've grown and adapted. Your working relationships in the gardens and workshops have developed into comfortable partnerships based on mutual respect and complementary skills. These professional connections provide daily satisfaction while contributing to community welfare. Good working relationships make even difficult tasks enjoyable. Edmund notes as you collaborate on planning expanded agricultural production. When people trust and respect each other, everything becomes easier and more productive. The colony's approach to managing personal conflicts demonstrates sophisticated understanding of human psychology and group dynamics. Mediation services help resolve disputes while preserving relationships that are essential for community cohesion. You've observed the resolution of several significant conflicts during your residency, learning how the community balances individual needs with collective welfare. These experiences provide insights into conflict resolution that extend beyond immediate circumstances. Living in close quarters with people you can't escape from teaches valuable lessons about communication and compromise. Margaret explains. After helping mediate a dispute between residents, these skills serve us well in all our relationships. Romantic relationships within the colony continue to evolve as couples navigate the complexities of intimacy and commitment under unique circumstances. The community's support for these relationships demonstrates commitment to preserving full human experience despite medical challenges. The approaching wedding of Robert and Catherine has become a focus for community celebration and preparation. Planning the ceremony reveals the colony's creativity in creating meaningful rituals despite limited resources and social isolation. Love deserves celebration regardless of circumstances. Father William explains while preparing for the wedding ceremony. When we honor commitment and affection, we affirm the value and dignity of all human relationships. Family relationships take various forms within the colony, as residents create new kinship networks to replace connections severed by their diagnosis. Informal adoption arrangements ensure that children receive adequate care while providing childless adults with parental relationships. Family becomes what we make it, explains Elena as she describes her relationship with several colony children who've become like her own. Blood relationships matter, but chosen relationships can be equally meaningful and supportive. Professional relationships within the colony's various work areas have developed into collaborative partnerships that maximize productivity while accommodating individual limitations. These working arrangements demonstrate creative problem-solving and mutual support. The textile workshop where you occasionally contribute demonstrates how residents with different skill levels and physical capabilities work together to produce quality goods. Sarah's leadership creates an inclusive environment where everyone can contribute meaningfully. Successful collaboration requires understanding and accommodating each person's strengths and limitations. Sarah explains while organizing work assignments. When we design tasks that suit individual capabilities, everyone benefits from the results. The colony's social gatherings have become important opportunities for relationship building and community bonding. Evening conversations, shared meals, And collaborative projects create multiple contexts for developing and maintaining connections. Social. Time isn't just entertainment, Margaret observes during one of the regular evening gatherings. It's essential for maintaining the relationships that make community life possible and enjoyable. Your own evolution from newcomer to established resident reflects the colony's success in integrating new members while maintaining social cohesion. The process demonstrates both individual adaptability and community commitment to inclusion. Integration takes time and patience from everyone involved. Brother Marcus reflects on your adjustment process. But when it works well, the community becomes stronger and more diverse. While new residents find belonging and purpose, 8 months into your residence, you've experienced fundamental changes in identity, values, and life perspective that go far beyond simply adapting to new circumstances. The transformation reveals how profound challenges can catalyze personal growth that might not occur under normal conditions. Your relationship with your own body has evolved from the initial shock and rejection to a complex acceptance that acknowledges limitations while celebrating remaining capabilities. This shift represents one of the most significant aspects of your personal transformation. Learning to work with your body rather than against it changes everything, Sister Joan observes during one of your regular health consultations. When you stop fighting your limitations and start adapting to them, you discover possibilities you didn't know existed. The daily practice of self-examination and symptom monitoring has become routine rather than terrifying, representing acceptance of your condition as a manageable aspect of life rather than a death sentence. This psychological shift enables more effective medical care and practical planning. Your work skills have expanded significantly as you've learned to adapt traditional techniques to accommodate physical changes while developing new approaches to familiar tasks. The creativity required for this adaptation has enhanced rather than diminished your sense of competence. Necessity drives innovation, Thomas observes as he watches you use modified tools and techniques for garden work. When you can't do things the old way, you discover new ways that often work better than the original methods. Social skills have deepened through intensive community living that requires constant attention to group dynamics and interpersonal relationships. Living successfully in close quarters with diverse personalities has developed patience, empathy, and communication abilities. Community living teaches social skills that most people never need to develop. Margaret reflects during a discussion about colony life. When you can't escape from people you disagree with, you learn to understand and work with them. Spiritual development has accelerated through confrontation with mortality and meaning. That forces examination of fundamental questions about purpose and value. This spiritual growth transcends specific religious frameworks to encompass broader questions about human existence. Facing your own mortality clarifies what really matters, Father William explains during one of your discussions about faith and meaning. When you can't take tomorrow for granted, you pay more attention to today's opportunities for meaning and connection. Your perspective on disability and social rejection has evolved from personal crisis to broader understanding of how society treats people who don't conform to normal expectations. This awareness creates both anger and motivation for advocacy. Understanding discrimination from the inside changes how you see all forms of social injustice. You reflect during a conversation about colony life. When you've experienced complete social rejection, you become more sensitive to subtle forms of exclusion and prejudice. Economic values have shifted toward appreciation for subsistence security and community welfare rather than individual accumulation and competitive advancement. This change reflects both practical necessity and philosophical growth. Learning to value what you need rather than what you want brings a different kind of satisfaction. Brother Marcus observes during a discussion about colony economics. When everyone's basic needs are met through collective effort, individual well-being depends on community welfare. Your understanding of time and future planning has changed from long-term goal setting to appreciating present moments while preparing realistically for uncertain futures. This temporal perspective reduces anxiety while increasing attention to daily experiences. Living one day at a time isn't resignation. Sister Joan explains during a conversation about planning and hope. It's recognition that the present moment contains everything we actually have, so it deserves our full attention and effort. Relationships with family and friends from your previous life have been permanently altered by your diagnosis and removal. To the colony, processing these losses while building new relationships has developed emotional resilience and appreciation for chosen connections. Losing relationships that seem permanent teaches you to value the connections you do have. William observes during one of your regular conversations. When you can't take relationships for granted, you invest more deeply in maintaining them. The development of new skills and interests within the colony has revealed capabilities you didn't know you possessed. Learning to work with wood, understanding plant cultivation, and developing craft abilities provide satisfaction and identity beyond your original professional background. Discovering new talents reminds you that identity isn't fixed. Edmund explains as he watches you master advanced gardening techniques. When circumstances force you to try new things, you often find abilities you never had reason to develop. Your role within the colony has evolved from dependent newcomer to contributing community member who helps others through their adjustment process. This evolution provides purpose and validates your value within the social structure. 9 months into your residence, you've begun taking on leadership, responsibilities that reflect your growing integration into the community and the trust other residents place in your judgment and character. These new roles provide purpose while testing your commitment to the colony's welfare. Your appointment to the Garden Planning Committee represents recognition of both your horticultural skills and your understanding of community needs. The position requires balancing individual preferences with collective nutrition requirements while planning for various seasonal and economic challenges. Leadership in the colony means serving community needs rather than pursuing personal advantage. Edmund explains as he guides you through the responsibilities of garden planning. We trust people with authority because they've demonstrated commitment to everyone's welfare. The garden planning role involves complex decisions about crop selection, resource allocation, and risk management that affect the entire communities. Food security, learning to make these decisions collaboratively while taking responsibility for outcomes, develop skills that extend beyond agricultural management. Your participation in the Conflict Resolution Council demonstrates the community's confidence in your fairness and wisdom despite your relatively recent arrival. The role requires listening carefully to different perspectives while helping disputants find mutually acceptable solutions. Mediation skills developed through practice and genuine concern for everyone's well-being. Margaret explains as she mentors you in conflict resolution techniques. When people trust your motives, they're more willing to accept your guidance in working through problems. The responsibility for orienting new residents provides opportunities to use your own adjustment experience to help others navigate the challenges of colony life. This mentoring role creates meaning from your own difficult experiences while serving essential community functions. Helping others process what you've been through transforms your own suffering into service. Brother Marcus observes as you work with a recently arrived family. When your experience becomes useful to others, it gains meaning that purely personal growth can't provide. Your involvement in planning community celebrations and special events reveals creative abilities while demonstrating commitment to maintaining morale and social cohesion. These responsibilities require understanding what brings people joy while working within practical constraints. The upcoming Harvest Festival requires extensive planning and coordination that tests your organizational abilities while providing opportunities to contribute to community traditions. Learning to balance. Innovation with tradition challenges your understanding of change and continuity. Celebrations matter for community health. Father William explains while planning the festival observances. When we create joy together, we strengthen the bonds that help us survive difficult times. Your representation of the colony in trade. Negotiations demonstrates trust in your judgment and communication skills. These responsibilities require balancing community interests with external relationships while maintaining the dignity that makes successful commerce possible. Trade relationships depend on respect and reliability. Brother Marcus explains as he includes you in merchant negotiations. When outsiders see that we're competent and trustworthy, they're more willing to do business with us despite their prejudices. The Economic Planning Committee appointment reflects recognition of your analytical abilities and understanding of resource management. The position involves complex decisions about production priorities, investment strategies, and risk assessment that affect community prosperity. Financial planning for the colony requires balancing immediate needs with long-term sustainability. While preparing for various contingencies that could affect community welfare, learning to make these decisions collaboratively develops skills that have value beyond the immediate context. Economic responsibility means thinking beyond personal needs to consider community welfare over time. Margaret explains during economic planning sessions, when resources are limited, every decision has implications for everyone's future well-being. Your teaching responsibilities in the colony's educational programs provide opportunities to share knowledge while learning from students whose questions and perspectives challenge your own understanding. These roles create reciprocal relationships that benefit everyone involved. Teaching and learning go together. Father William observes as you help with literacy instruction. When we share knowledge, we strengthen the entire community's capacity for growth and adaptation. The leadership roles you've assumed demonstrate the colony's commitment to democratic participation and shared responsibility. Unlike hierarchical structures based on birth or wealth, colony leadership emerges from demonstrated competence and community service. Authority here comes from service rather than privilege. Thomas explains during a discussion about colony governance. When people trust your commitment to community welfare, they accept your leadership in areas where you've shown competence. Your growing influence within the community creates obligations as well as opportunities. Leadership positions require setting positive examples while maintaining the humility and service orientation that make authority acceptable in a democratic community. 10 months into your residence, you've experienced nearly a complete annual cycle and developed deep appreciation for how the colony adapts to seasonal changes while maintaining stability and continuity. This temporal perspective provides insights into long-term planning and community resilience. Your second autumn in the colony reveals how much your skills and understanding have developed since your arrival. Tasks that seemed overwhelming during your first seasonal transition now feel manageable, demonstrating the effectiveness of gradual learning and adaptation. Each seasonal cycle builds on previous experience. Edmund observes as you help plan the autumn harvest activities. You understand now how the pieces fit together and can anticipate challenges before they become problems. The harvest season provides opportunities to evaluate the success of spring planting decisions and learn from both achievements and mistakes. Your garden planning committee role requires analyzing results to inform future decisions about crop selection and resource allocation. Food preservation activities that once seemed mysterious now feel routine as you've mastered techniques for ensuring winter food security. Your skills have progressed from basic assistance to knowledgeable participation in complex preservation projects. Competence builds confidence, Sarah observes as she watches you organize textile production for winter. When you know you can handle seasonal challenges, you can focus on improving methods rather than just surviving. The autumn trading season demonstrates how economic relationships have evolved over the course of the year. Merchants who were initially skeptical about doing business with the colony now specifically seek out your products because of established reputation for quality and reliability. Business relationships take time to develop. Brother Marcus explains as he reviews the year's trading results. Trust and reputation can't be rushed. The once established, they provide foundation for long-term economic stability. Winter preparation. Activities reveal how thoroughly you've integrated into the community's planning and decision-making processes. Your participation in supply assessments and resource allocation reflects trust in your judgment and commitment to community welfare. The approaching winter no longer feels like a crisis to be endured, but rather a natural seasonal transition that requires preparation while providing opportunities for indoor activities and intensified social relationships. Seasonal acceptance. Commies with experience, Margaret observes as the community prepares for winter. When you understand the rhythms and have confidence in community resilience, seasonal changes become part of life's natural flow rather than external threats. Your role in planning winter activities demonstrates understanding of community psychology and the importance of maintaining morale during challenging months. Experience has taught you which activities provide effective antidotes to seasonal depression and social tensions. Medical care responsibilities that you've gradually assumed reflect Sister Jones' confidence in your understanding of common health challenges and appropriate responses. Your ability to provide basic care extends the colony's medical resources while developing your own healing skills. Medical knowledge develops through careful observation and practice. Sister Joan explains as she expands your care responsibilities. When you understand how the body responds to various treatments, you can provide effective help even with limited formal training. The religious calendar has become personally meaningful as you've participated in multiple cycles of observances and developed your own spiritual practices. The seasonal celebrations now provide genuine comfort and community connection rather than simply ritual obligations. Spiritual traditions create continuity that transcends individual circumstances. Father William observes during autumn religious preparations. When we participate in observances that connect us to larger meanings, our personal struggles gain perspective and context. Educational activities that you now help lead demonstrate how knowledge sharing creates community strength. While providing personal satisfaction, your teaching responsibilities have developed communication skills while deepening your own understanding of various subjects. Knowledge multiplies when it's shared, Father William explains during planning for winter educational programs. When we teach what we know, we strengthen everyone's capabilities while discovering new insights through the teaching process. Workshop responsibilities that you've gradually assumed reflect recognition of your technical skills and understanding of production processes. Your ability to organize work activities while accommodating various physical limitations demonstrates leadership that serves community needs. Production leadership requires understanding both technical requirements and human capabilities. Thomas observes as you help organize winter craft activities. When you can match tasks to individual abilities, everyone contributes effectively to collective goals. The approaching second winter of your residence provides opportunities to test improvements in planning and preparation based on experience from the previous year. Your contributions to these preparations reflect full integration into community decision-making processes. 11 months into your residence, you've achieved a level of acceptance and integration that transforms your perspective on both past losses and future possibilities. This psychological milestone represents completion of the major adjustment process while opening new possibilities for growth and contribution. Your relationship with your diagnosis has evolved from desperate denial through angry resistance to pragmatic acceptance that acknowledges limitations while celebrating remaining capabilities. This transformation enables effective planning and realistic hope rather than futile struggle against unchangeable circumstances. Acceptance isn't resignation. Sister Joan explains during one of your conversations about adaptation. It's recognition of reality that allows you to work effectively within actual circumstances rather than wasting energy fighting things you can't change. The physical symptoms that once dominated your attention have become manageable aspects of daily life that require accommodation but don't prevent meaningful activity. Learning to work with your body's limitations while maximizing its capabilities has restored confidence and competence. Your social position within the colony has evolved from dependent newcomer to respected community member whose opinions are valued and whose leadership is trusted. This transformation provides purpose and identity that transcend your medical condition. Community membership isn't about perfection, Margaret observes during a discussion about social integration. It's about contribution and commitment to shared welfare. When you invest in community success, you become essential to its functioning. The work skills you've developed extend far beyond adaptation to include genuine expertise in areas you never expected to master. Your agricultural knowledge, craft abilities, and leadership skills provide satisfaction while serving community needs. Competence develops through practice and necessity, Edmund explains as he reviews your contributions to agricultural planning. When you have to learn new skills for survival, you often discover talents you didn't know you possessed. Your spiritual development has progressed from desperate searching for meaning to confident faith in purposes that transcend individual circumstances. This growth provides foundation for hope and resilience that sustains you through ongoing challenges. Faith matures through testing. Father William observes during one of your theological discussions. When beliefs survive real challenges, they become reliable sources of strength rather than fragile hopes that disappear when circumstances become difficult. Relationships within the colony have deepened into genuine friendships and professional partnerships that provide emotional sustenance. While contributing to community welfare, these connections demonstrate that meaningful relationships can develop under any circumstances when people commit to mutual support. Deep relationships require shared experience and mutual investment. William reflects during one of your regular conversations. When people support each other through real challenges, connections develop that might not emerge under easier circumstances. Your understanding of disability and social prejudice has evolved from personal grievance to broader awareness of social justice issues that affect many different groups. This perspective creates motivation for advocacy while providing context for your own experiences. Understanding discrimination firsthand creates responsibility to oppose it wherever it occurs. You reflect during a conversation about social justice. When you've experienced complete social rejection, you become sensitive to more subtle forms of exclusion and inequality. Economic perspectives have shifted toward appreciation for security and community welfare rather than individual accumulation and competitive advantage. This change reflects both practical necessity and philosophical growth toward values that support sustainable community life. Economic well-being depends on everyone's welfare when you live in genuine community. Brother Marcus observes during economic planning discussions, individual prosperity has no meaning if the community that supports it fails. Your role in helping newer residents adjust to colony life has become a source of satisfaction and purpose that transforms your own difficult experiences into service opportunities. This evolution demonstrates how suffering can become meaningful through contribution to others' welfare. Service to others gives meaning to personal struggle. You observe while helping a recently arrived family navigate colony life. When your experience helps someone else, the difficulties you've endured become worthwhile investments in community welfare. The approaching anniversary of your arrival provides opportunities for Reflection on the profound changes that have occurred during your first year in the colony. The transformation encompasses not just adaptation, but fundamental growth in understanding, capability, and purpose. Planning for future contributions to community development reflects confidence in both personal capabilities and community sustainability. Your investment in long-term projects demonstrates commitment to the colony as your permanent home rather than temporary refuge. Long-term planning shows that you've accepted this life as real life rather than temporary punishment. Margaret observes as you contribute to planning for facility expansions. When you invest in improving the future, you demonstrate genuine commitment to community welfare. 1 year into your residence, you've completed the full cycle of adjustment and integration that transforms newcomers into established community members. This milestone provides perspective on both personal growth and community resilience, while opening possibilities for future development and contribution. The anniversary of your arrival prompts reflection on the dramatic changes that have occurred in your understanding, capabilities, and life perspective. The transformation encompasses far more than adaptation to include fundamental growth in wisdom, skills, and purpose. A year in the colony changes everyone, Brother Marcus observes as you discuss your anniversary. The challenges force growth that might take decades under normal circumstances. Crisis can accelerate development when people respond with courage and openness. Your current roles within the community demonstrate complete integration into social structures while reflecting trust in your judgment and commitment to collective welfare. Leadership responsibilities provide purpose while testing your ability to serve community needs rather than personal interests. The skills you develop during your first year create foundation for even greater contributions. As you gain experience and confidence, your agricultural expertise, craft abilities, and leadership capabilities position you to take on expanded responsibilities as opportunities arise. Competence builds on itself, Edmund explains as he discusses advanced agricultural projects. When you master basic skills and understand underlying principles, you can tackle increasingly complex challenges and make more sophisticated contributions. Relationships formed during your first year have deepened into connections that provide emotional sustenance while supporting community cohesion. These friendships and professional partnerships demonstrate that meaningful human connection survives even the most challenging circumstances. Relationships developed through shared struggle often become the strongest and most reliable. William reflects during one of your conversations about friendship. When people support each other through real difficulties, they create bonds that last through any future challenges. Your spiritual development provides foundation for hope and resilience that enables constructive responses to ongoing challenges, rather than despair or resignation. This growth transcends specific religious frameworks to encompass broader questions about meaning and purpose. Spiritual maturity comes through testing and service. Father William observes during a discussion about faith development, when beliefs prove helpful in real circumstances and motivate service to others, they become reliable sources of strength and guidance. The colony's economic situation has improved during your residence, partly through your contributions to agricultural productivity and trade relationships. This success demonstrates community resilience while providing confidence for future planning and development. Economic stability creates foundation for other forms of growth. Brother Marcus explains as he reviews the year's financial results. When basic needs are secure, we can invest in improvements that enhance everyone's quality of life. Educational responsibilities that you've assumed demonstrate the colony's commitment to continuous learning while providing personal satisfaction through knowledge sharing. Your teaching activities create reciprocal relationships that benefit everyone involved. Education multiplies community capabilities. Father William observes as he reviews educational program expansion. When we develop everyone's potential, We strengthen the entire community's capacity for growth and adaptation. Planning for the colony's future development reflects confidence in both community sustainability and your own long-term residence. Your investment in projects that will take years to complete demonstrates commitment to the community as your permanent home. Long-term planning shows faith in community survival and personal commitment. Margaret explains during discussions about facility expansion. When you invest effort in projects, you'll only benefit from after years of additional residence. You demonstrate genuine membership rather than temporary accommodation. Your role in mentoring newer residents has become increasingly important as your own experience provides valuable guidance for people beginning their adjustment process. This responsibility transforms your difficult early experiences into resources for helping others. Mentoring relationships benefit everyone involved. You reflect while helping a recently arrived family. When you can guide someone through challenges you faced, you discover how much you've grown while providing essential service to community welfare. The medical knowledge you've acquired through personal experience and formal learning positions you to assist Sister Joan in providing care while developing your own healing abilities. This expertise creates valuable community resource while providing personal satisfaction. Medical knowledge developed through experience often proves more practical than formal training. Sister Joan observes as she expands your care responsibilities. When you understand illness from the inside, you can provide help that purely academic knowledge might miss. Future possibilities within the colony include expanded leadership roles, advanced skill development, and increased responsibility for community welfare. These opportunities provide motivation for continued growth while serving collective needs. 15 months into your residence, you've observed how the colony continues evolving to meet changing circumstances while maintaining core values and traditions. This perspective provides insights into community resilience and adaptation that extend beyond immediate circumstances. New residents arriving throughout the year bring fresh skills and perspectives while requiring integration into established social structures. The colony's approach to incorporating newcomers demonstrates sophisticated understanding of community dynamics and change management. Each new resident changes the community slightly. Margaret observes during a discussion about social dynamics. We maintain our essential character while adapting to incorporate new personalities, skills, and perspectives. Infrastructure improvements completed during your residence reflect long-term planning and community investment in future welfare. Expanded workshops, improved housing, and enhanced agricultural facilities demonstrate confidence in colony sustainability. Physical improvements reflect community optimism. Thomas explains as he shows you the completed workshop expansion. When people invest effort in long-term projects, they demonstrate faith in collective survival and prosperity. The colony's economic relationships have expanded during your residence as reputation for quality work opens new trading opportunities. These developments provide increased income while validating community productivity and competence. Economic growth comes from reputation and reliability. Brother Marcus reports after successfully establishing new trading partnerships. When customers trust your work quality and business practices, they recommend you to others and provide foundation for expansion. Educational programs have evolved to include advanced instruction in various subjects as resident skills and interests develop. The expansion demonstrates commitment to intellectual growth while creating more sophisticated community capabilities. Education continues throughout life when circumstances support it. Father William explains as he describes new advanced instruction opportunities. Intellectual growth enhances both individual satisfaction and community competence. Medical care has improved as Sister Joan's experience expands and new treatments prove effective. The development of colony-specific medical knowledge demonstrates How communities can develop expertise that meets their particular circumstances. Medical knowledge develops through practice and careful observation. Sister Joan explains as she describes improved treatment protocols. When you work with specific conditions over time, you develop understanding that formal training might not provide. Social traditions have evolved to incorporate new residents' backgrounds while maintaining essential community character. This cultural development demonstrates how traditions can adapt without losing their fundamental purposes. Cultural evolution strengthens community identity when it's managed thoughtfully. Father William observes during planning for holiday celebrations. We preserve what serves us well while adapting to include new perspectives and capabilities. The colony's governance structures have matured as experience, provides lessons about effective decision-making and conflict resolution. Democratic processes work more smoothly as residents develop skills and trust in collaborative leadership. Democratic governance improves with practice. Margaret explains during a community meeting evaluation, when people learn to listen, compromise, and work together, collective decision-making becomes more efficient and effective. Your own role within these evolutionary processes demonstrates how individual growth contributes to community development. Personal advancement serves collective welfare when it's directed towards shared goals and values. Individual growth strengthens community when it's channeled towards service. You reflect during a conversation about personal development. When people develop their capabilities to serve collective needs, everyone benefits from individual advancement. Production capabilities have expanded as residents master advanced techniques and develop new methods for creating trade goods. This economic development provides increased prosperity while validating community competence and creativity. Production improvements come from experience and innovation. Sarah explains as she demonstrates advanced textile techniques. When you understand basic principles thoroughly, you can experiment with improvements that enhance both quality and efficiency. The colony's reputation in the broader region has improved as successful trade relationships and positive interactions change external perceptions. This development reduces prejudice while creating more opportunities for beneficial relationships. Reputation changes slowly, but can create significant improvements in how outsiders perceive and treat us. Brother Marcus observes after a particularly successful trading season, when people see evidence of our competence and character, prejudices become harder to maintain. Future planning now includes projects that would have seemed impossibly ambitious during your early residence. The expanded vision demonstrates community confidence while providing motivation for continued growth and development. Ambitious planning shows confidence in community survival and growth. Thomas explains as he describes plans for significant facility expansion. When you believe in your future, you're willing to invest in projects that will benefit the next generation. Regional connections have developed as the colony establishes relationships with other communities and institutions. These relationships provide resources and opportunities while reducing isolation. External relationships enhance community welfare when they're based on mutual respect and benefit. Brother Marcus explains during discussions about regional partnerships. Isolation isn't always protective. Sometimes connection provides security and opportunity. 18 months into your residence, you've developed deep understanding of human nature, community dynamics, and personal resilience that comes only through sustained challenge and growth. This wisdom provides foundation for continued contribution, while offering insights that extend beyond immediate circumstances. Your perspective on suffering has evolved from personal crisis to broader understanding of how difficulties can catalyze growth when people respond with courage and openness. This transformation provides tools for helping others while offering meaning for your own experiences. Suffering that leads to wisdom serves purpose beyond personal endurance. Father William observes during one of your theological discussions. When difficult experiences teach lessons that help others, Individual struggle contributes to collective welfare. Leadership responsibilities have expanded as community. Trust in your judgment grows, and your understanding of effective governance deepens. These roles provide opportunities to serve while testing your commitment to democratic principles and community welfare. Leadership in a democratic community requires balancing individual vision with collective wisdom. Margaret explains as she mentors you in governance skills. Effective leaders guide without dominating and serve without self-aggrandizement. The teaching roles you've assumed demonstrate how knowledge sharing creates community strength while providing personal satisfaction. Your educational responsibilities have developed communication skills while deepening understanding of various subjects. Teaching forces you to understand subjects more thoroughly than just knowing them for personal use. You observe while preparing lesson materials. When you have to explain something clearly to others, you discover gaps in your own understanding that you need to address. Medical knowledge acquired through personal experience and formal study positions you to provide increasingly sophisticated care. This expertise serves community needs while developing capabilities that provide personal meaning and professional satisfaction. Medical understanding developed through experience often proves more valuable than purely academic knowledge. Sister Joan explains as she expands your care responsibilities. When you understand illness and healing from multiple perspectives, you can provide more effective help. Spiritual development has progressed to include not just personal faith, but ability to provide guidance and support for others' spiritual struggles. This growth serves community needs while deepening your own understanding of meaning and purpose. Spiritual maturity includes ability to help others find their own paths to meaning and peace. Father William observes as you begin taking on pastoral responsibilities. When your faith serves others' growth, it demonstrates its practical value. Economic understanding has evolved to encompass not just community finances, but broader principles of sustainable prosperity and equitable resource distribution. This knowledge informs planning while providing tools for community development. Economic wisdom includes understanding how individual welfare connects to collective prosperity. Brother Marcus explains during advanced economic planning discussions. When you grasp these relationships, you can make decisions that serve both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. Your role in conflict resolution has expanded as experience develops skills in mediation and your reputation for fairness grows. These responsibilities require sophisticated understanding of human psychology while serving essential community functions. Effective mediation requires understanding both human nature and community needs. Margaret explains as she observes your conflict resolution work. When you can help people find solutions that serve everyone's interests, you prevent small problems from becoming community crises. Agricultural expertise has progressed beyond basic production to include advanced techniques and long-term soil management. This knowledge ensures food security while demonstrating environmental stewardship that serves future generations. Agricultural wisdom includes understanding how current practices affect long-term productivity. Edmund explains as you discuss advanced farming techniques. When you farm for sustainability rather than just immediate yield, you ensure continued prosperity. Craft skills have developed to include not just production, but innovation and quality improvement. Your ability to create superior goods serves economic needs while providing artistic satisfaction and professional pride. Craftsmanship excellence comes from understanding materials and techniques thoroughly enough to innovate and improve. Thomas observes as you complete an advanced woodworking project. When you master the basics, you can experiment with improvements that enhance both function and beauty. Your understanding of community psychology has deepened through observation and experience to include insights into group dynamics, leadership effectiveness, and social cohesion. This knowledge serves community welfare while providing tools for continued growth. Community wisdom develops through careful observation of what works and what doesn't in group settings. You reflect. During a discussion about social dynamics, when you understand how communities function effectively, you can contribute to their success rather than accidentally undermining their cohesion. The perspective you've gained on human potential and resilience provides foundation for optimism about both individual and collective possibilities. This understanding motivates continued effort while offering hope during challenging times. 2 years into your residence, you've begun thinking about the legacy you want to create and the contributions that will continue benefiting the community long after your individual involvement ends. This long-term perspective demonstrates complete integration while providing motivation for sustained excellence. Your role in training newer residents has become increasingly important as the colony grows, and your experience provides valuable guidance for adjustment processes. These mentoring relationships transform your difficult early experiences into resources for helping others. Mentoring is one way we create continuity between generations of residents. Brother Marcus observes as he watches you work with recently arrived families. When experienced residents share knowledge and support, community wisdom accumulates rather than being lost. Documentation projects you've initiated help preserve community knowledge while creating resources for future residents. Your writing about agricultural techniques, governance processes, and adjustment strategies ensures that hard-won wisdom doesn't disappear when individual residents leave or die. Written records preserve knowledge that might otherwise be lost when circumstances change. Margaret explains as she reviews your documentation efforts. When we record what we've learned, future residents can build on our experience rather than starting from nothing. Infrastructure projects you've planned or supervised create lasting improvements that will benefit the community for decades. These physical legacies demonstrate long-term thinking while providing practical value that transcends individual contributions. Physical improvements outlast the people who create them. Thomas observes as he surveys recent construction projects. When we build for quality and longevity, we serve future residents we'll never meet. Educational programs you've developed to ensure that important knowledge and skills continue being transmitted to new residents. These systems create sustainability that doesn't depend on individual teachers' continued presence. Educational systems preserve knowledge better than individual instruction. Father William explains as he reviews curriculum development. When we create structured learning programs, essential knowledge gets transmitted reliably, regardless of which specific teachers are available. Economic innovations you've introduced help ensure community prosperity while providing models that other colonies might adopt. These contributions extend beyond immediate community benefit to influence broader approaches to sustainable economics. Economic innovations that prove successful here often get adopted by other communities. Brother Marcus reports after corresponding with representatives from other colonies. When we develop better methods, we contribute to improved welfare for people we'll never meet. Medical knowledge you've helped develop contributes to better care within the colony while potentially benefiting other communities facing similar health challenges. This expertise represents accumulated wisdom that serves current and future residents. Medical knowledge developed through community experience often proves valuable beyond immediate circumstances. Sister Joan explains as she reviews treatment protocols you've helped refine. When we document what works, we create resources that can help others facing similar challenges. The conflict resolution methods you've helped develop create frameworks for maintaining community harmony that will function regardless of which specific individuals serve in leadership roles. These systems ensure stability through personnel changes. Conflict resolution systems preserve community peace better than individual mediators. Margaret explains as she reviews governance procedures. When we create reliable methods for addressing disputes, Community harmony doesn't depend on particular personalities. Cultural traditions you've helped establish or preserve ensure that community identity continues evolving while maintaining essential character. These contributions create continuity that transcends individual involvement. Cultural preservation requires active effort from each generation. Father William observes during holiday planning, when we maintain meaningful traditions while adapting to new circumstances, we create continuity that strengthens community identity. Agricultural innovations you've introduced enhance productivity while ensuring environmental sustainability for future generations. These contributions demonstrate stewardship that extends beyond immediate community benefit. Agricultural improvements that enhance long-term sustainability serve future residents better than techniques that maximize short-term yield. Edmund explains as he reviews crop rotation innovations you've suggested. When we farm for the future, we ensure continued prosperity. Your influence on community values and principles helps ensure that democratic governance and mutual support continue characterizing colony life regardless of changing personnel. These contributions create cultural legacy that transcends individual involvement. Value systems perpetuate themselves when they're practiced consistently and taught deliberately. You reflect during a discussion about community character. When we live by principles that serve everyone's welfare, we create culture that survives individual changes. Planning for leadership succession ensures that community governance continues effectively when current leaders become unable to serve. These preparations demonstrate responsibility while creating systems that maintain democratic values. Leadership succession planning protects community welfare by ensuring continuity during transitions. Margaret explains as she discusses governance development. When we prepare others to assume responsibilities, we prevent crises that could threaten community survival. The training programs you've developed ensure that essential skills continue being transmitted to new residents regardless of which specific instructors are available. These systems create educational sustainability that serves long-term community needs. 2.5 years into your residence, you've experienced multiple cycles of seasons, residence, and community development that provide perspective on the rhythms and patterns that characterize sustainable community life. This cyclical understanding demonstrates mastery while offering insights into long-term planning, your role in welcoming and orienting new residents has become routine yet meaningful. As you repeatedly witness the transformation process you once experienced yourself, these interactions provide opportunities to reflect on personal growth while serving essential community functions. Helping others through adjustment processes reminds me how far I've come. You observe while working with a newly arrived family. When I can guide someone through challenges I've faced, I see clearly how much I've grown and changed. The seasonal rhythms that once seemed overwhelming have become comfortable patterns that provide structure and predictability. Your understanding of how the community adapts to changing conditions enables effective planning while reducing anxiety about uncertain future circumstances. Seasonal mastery comes from experience and confidence in community resilience. Edmund explains as you plan agricultural activities for the coming year. When you understand the cycles and trust collective capabilities, seasonal changes become opportunities rather than threats. Leadership responsibilities have evolved from specific assignments to general recognition as someone whose judgment can be trusted in various circumstances. This reputation provides opportunities to serve while creating obligations to maintain high standards of integrity and competence. Leadership reputation develops gradually through consistent demonstration of good judgment and community commitment. Margaret observes during a discussion about governance. When people trust your motives and abilities, they turn to you for guidance in various situations. Economic planning that you now participate in as a senior community member demonstrates how thoroughly you've mastered the principles of sustainable prosperity and resource management. These skills serve immediate needs while providing foundation for long-term development. Economic mastery includes understanding both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. Brother Marcus explains as he reviews financial planning processes. When you can balance current welfare with future requirements, you create security that serves multiple generations. The teaching responsibilities you've assumed encompass not just specific subjects, but general guidance about learning and growth. Your educational role serves immediate student needs while modeling approaches to knowledge that encourage lifelong development. Advanced teaching includes helping people learn how to learn. Father William observes as he watches your instructional methods. When you teach process as well as content, you create capabilities that serve students throughout their lives. Medical knowledge you've acquired positions you to provide increasingly sophisticated care while training others in health management techniques. This expertise multiplies community medical resources while ensuring continuity of care through personnel changes. Two years into your residence, you've begun thinking about the legacy you want to create and the contributions that will continue benefiting the community long after your individual involvement ends. This long-term perspective demonstrates complete integration while providing motivation for sustained excellence. Your role in training newer residents has become increasingly important as the colony grows, and your experience provides valuable guidance for adjustment processes. These mentoring relationships transform your difficult early experiences into resources for helping others. Mentoring is one way we create continuity between generations of residents. Brother Marcus observes as he watches you work with recently arrived families. When experienced residents share knowledge and support, community wisdom accumulates rather than being lost. Documentation projects you've initiated help preserve community knowledge while creating resources for future residents. Your writing about agricultural techniques, governance processes, and adjustment strategies ensures that hard-won wisdom doesn't disappear when individual residents leave or die. Written records preserve knowledge that might otherwise be lost when circumstances change. Margaret explains as she reviews your documentation efforts. When we record what we've learned, future residents can build on our experience rather than starting from nothing. Infrastructure projects you've planned or supervised create lasting improvements that will benefit the community for decades. These physical legacies demonstrate long-term thinking while providing practical value that transcends individual contributions. Physical improvements outlast the people who create them, Thomas observes as he surveys recent construction projects. When we build for quality and longevity, we serve future residents we'll never meet. Educational programs you've developed to ensure that important knowledge and skills continue being transmitted to new residents. These systems create sustainability that doesn't depend on individual teachers' continued presence. Educational systems preserve knowledge better than individual instruction. Father William explains as he reviews curriculum development. When we create structured learning programs, essential knowledge gets transmitted reliably, regardless of which specific teachers are available. Economic innovations you've introduced help ensure community prosperity while providing models that other colonies might adopt. These contributions extend beyond immediate community benefit to influence broader approaches to sustainable economics. Economic innovations that prove successful here often get adopted by other communities. Brother Marcus reports after corresponding with representatives from other colonies. When we develop better methods, we contribute to improved welfare for people we'll never meet. Medical knowledge you've helped develop contributes to better care within the colony while potentially benefiting other communities facing similar health challenges. This expertise represents accumulated wisdom that serves current and future residents. Medical knowledge developed through community experience often proves valuable beyond immediate circumstances. Sister Joan explains as she reviews treatment protocols you've helped refine. When we document what works, we create resources that can help others facing similar challenges. The conflict resolution methods you've helped develop create frameworks for maintaining community harmony that will function regardless of which specific individuals serve in leadership roles. These systems ensure stability through personnel changes. Conflict resolution systems preserve community peace better than individual mediators. Margaret explains as she reviews governance procedures. When we create reliable methods for addressing disputes, community harmony doesn't depend on particular personalities. Cultural traditions you've helped establish or preserve ensure that community identity continues evolving while maintaining essential character. These contributions create continuity that transcends individual involvement. Cultural preservation requires active effort from each generation. Father William observes during holiday planning, when we maintain meaningful traditions while adapting to new circumstances, we create continuity that strengthens community identity. Agricultural innovations you've introduced enhance productivity while ensuring environmental sustainability for future generations. These contributions demonstrate stewardship that extends beyond immediate community benefit. Agricultural improvements that enhance long-term sustainability serve future residents better than techniques that maximize short-term yield. Edmund explains as he reviews crop rotation innovations you've suggested. When we farm for the future, we ensure continued prosperity. Your influence on community values and principles helps ensure that democratic governance and mutual support continue characterizing colony life regardless of changing personnel. These contributions create cultural legacy that transcends individual involvement. Value systems perpetuate themselves when they're practiced consistently and taught deliberately. You reflect during a discussion about community character. When we live by principles that serve everyone's welfare, we create culture that survives individual changes. Planning for leadership succession ensures that community governance continues effectively when current leaders become unable to serve. These preparations demonstrate responsibility while creating systems that maintain democratic values. Leadership succession planning protects community welfare by ensuring continuity during transitions. Margaret explains as she discusses governance development. When we prepare others to assume responsibilities, we prevent crises that could threaten community survival. The training programs you've developed ensure that essential skills continue being transmitted to new residents regardless of which specific instructors are available. These systems create educational sustainability that serves long-term community needs. 2.5 years into your residence, you've experienced multiple cycles of seasons, residence, and community development that provide perspective on the rhythms and patterns that characterize sustainable community life. This cyclical understanding demonstrates mastery while offering insights into long-term planning, your role in welcoming and orienting new residents has become routine yet meaningful. As you repeatedly witness the transformation process you once experienced yourself, these interactions provide opportunities to reflect on personal growth while serving essential community functions. Helping others through adjustment processes reminds me how far I've come. You observe while working with a newly arrived family. When I can guide someone through challenges I've faced, I see clearly how much I've grown and changed. The seasonal rhythms that once seemed overwhelming have become comfortable patterns that provide structure and predictability. Your understanding of how the community adapts to changing conditions enables effective planning while reducing anxiety about uncertain future circumstances. Seasonal mastery comes from experience and confidence in community resilience. Edmund explains as you plan agricultural activities for the coming year. When you understand the cycles and trust collective capabilities, seasonal changes become opportunities rather than threats. Leadership responsibilities have evolved from specific assignments to general recognition as someone whose judgment can be trusted in various circumstances. This reputation provides opportunities to serve while creating obligations to maintain high standards of integrity and competence. Leadership reputation develops gradually through consistent demonstration of good judgment and community commitment. Margaret observes during a discussion about governance, when people trust your motives and abilities, they turn to you for guidance in various situations. Economic planning that you now participate in as a senior community member demonstrates how thoroughly you've mastered the principles of sustainable prosperity and resource management. These skills serve immediate needs while providing foundation for long-term development. Economic mastery includes understanding both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. Brother Marcus explains as he reviews financial planning processes. When you can balance current welfare with future requirements, you create security that serves multiple generations. The teaching responsibilities you've assumed encompass not just specific subjects, but general guidance about learning and growth. Your educational role serves immediate student needs while modeling approaches to knowledge that encourage lifelong development. Advanced teaching includes helping people learn how to learn. Father William observes as he watches your instructional methods. When you teach process as well as content, you create capabilities that serve students throughout their lives. Medical knowledge you've acquired positions you to provide increasingly sophisticated care while training others in health management techniques. This expertise multiplies community medical resources while ensuring continuity of care through personnel changes. Medical expertise becomes more valuable when it's shared and multiplied. Sister Joan explains as she expands your training responsibilities. When multiple people understand healthcare principles, community welfare doesn't depend on individual practitioners. Your spiritual development has progressed to include not just personal faith, but ability to guide others' spiritual growth and provide pastoral care during difficult times. This capacity serves community needs while deepening understanding of meaning and purpose. Spiritual maturity includes ability to help others find their own paths to peace and meaning. Father William observes as you begin providing counseling services. When faith enables service to others' spiritual welfare, it demonstrates practical value beyond personal comfort. Craft expertise you've developed enables you to create work of exceptional quality while training others in advanced techniques. This skill multiplication ensures continuation of high standards while providing economic and artistic value. Craft mastery includes ability to teach others and maintain quality standards. Thomas explains as he watches your advanced woodworking instruction. When expertise gets transmitted effectively, community capabilities expand rather than remaining dependent on individual masters. The conflict resolution skills you've mastered enable you to address increasingly complex disputes while training others in mediation techniques. This capacity multiplication ensures community harmony while reducing dependence on individual mediators. Conflict resolution expertise becomes more powerful when it's shared. Margaret explains as she observes your mediation training efforts. When multiple people understand how to facilitate solutions, community peace becomes more reliable and sustainable. Your understanding of community psychology has deepened to encompass sophisticated insights into group dynamics, leadership development, and social cohesion that enable you to contribute to governance decisions while helping prevent problems before they develop into crises. Community wisdom accumulates when experienced residents share observations and insights. You reflect during a leadership planning session. When we understand what makes communities work well, we can make decisions that strengthen rather than accidentally undermine social bonds. The perspective you've gained on human resilience and potential provides foundation for optimism about both individual and collective possibilities during challenging times. This understanding motivates continued effort while offering hope and encouragement to others facing difficulties. 3 years into your residence, you've achieved a perspective that transcends individual circumstances to encompass understanding of the eternal human struggles and triumphs that your community represents. This wisdom provides foundation for continued service while offering insights that extend far beyond immediate circumstances. The bells that once symbolized social death and isolation have become familiar sounds that mark the rhythms of purposeful community life. The chiming that initially filled you with despair now provides comfort and orientation, connecting you to a community where you found belonging and meaning. The bells that once announced our separation from the world now announce our presence to each other. You reflect during an evening conversation with William, your closest friend and fellow traveler on this unexpected journey. What seemed like symbols of death have become sounds of life and community. Your transformation from desperate newcomer to respected community leader demonstrates the potential for growth and contribution that exists even in circumstances that others might consider hopeless. This evolution provides evidence that human dignity and purpose can flourish under any conditions when people choose courage over despair. Looking back on my arrival 3 years ago, you shared during a community gathering celebrating long-term residence. I couldn't imagine finding purpose or happiness here. Now I can't imagine finding more meaningful work or deeper relationships anywhere else. The work that fills your days: agricultural planning, teaching, mentoring, crafts, governance, medical care, provides satisfaction that transcends the circumstances that brought you to this community. Purpose and competence create dignity that no external judgment can diminish. The relationships you form provide emotional richness that rivals any connections from your previous life. Friendship, love, mentorship, and professional partnership flourish within the colony's boundaries, demonstrating that human connection transcends physical limitations and social prejudices. The relationships I've built here feel more authentic than many I had before. William observes during one of your regular conversations, when people support each other through real challenges, connections developed that superficial social interactions can't match. Your spiritual development has created faith that provides peace and purpose regardless of external circumstances. This growth transcends specific religious frameworks to encompass broader understanding of meaning that sustains hope and motivates service even during difficult times. Faith that survives real testing becomes a reliable source of strength. Father William reflects during one of your discussions about spiritual growth. When beliefs prove helpful during actual challenges, they provide foundation for continued hope and service. The colony's success during your residence demonstrates that communities based on mutual support and democratic governance can thrive even under the most challenging circumstances. This achievement provides evidence that alternative social models are possible when people commit to collective welfare. What we've built here proves that cooperation can create prosperity and happiness even when individual resources are limited. Margaret observes during a reflection on community development, when people work together effectively, they can overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable individually. Your role in training and mentoring newer residents ensures that the wisdom gained through your own difficult adjustment process continues benefiting others who face similar challenges. This service transforms personal suffering into community resource while providing meaning that justifies past difficulties. Helping others navigate challenges I've faced gives meaning to everything I've experienced. You reflect while working with recently arrived families when personal struggle enables service to others. Even the most difficult experiences become worthwhile investments. The documentation and systems you've helped create ensure that community knowledge and capabilities continue developing rather than being lost when individual residents leave or die. These contributions create legacy that extends beyond personal involvement while serving future residents' needs. The seasonal cycles that once seemed threatening have become comforting patterns that provide structure and predictability while connecting the community to natural rhythms that transcend human suffering. This temporal perspective offers hope and continuity during uncertain times. Seasonal rhythms remind us that change and renewal are natural parts of existence. Edmund observes as another spring approaches. When we align ourselves with these cycles, we find comfort in patterns that are larger than our individual circumstances. Economic prosperity achieved through collective effort and democratic resource distribution demonstrates that alternative economic models can provide security and dignity. When people prioritize community welfare over individual accumulation, this success influences how you understand wealth and poverty. True prosperity comes from everyone having what they need, rather than some people having more than they can use. Brother Marcus reflects during economic planning discussions. When resources are shared fairly, everyone benefits from collective success. The governance systems you've helped develop demonstrate that democratic decision-making and conflict resolution can function effectively even in small communities facing survival challenges. These achievements provide models that might influence broader social and political arrangements. Democratic governance works when people are committed to collective welfare and willing to compromise for community benefit. Margaret explains during a discussion about political systems. What we've learned here about cooperation and conflict resolution could benefit any community. Your medical knowledge contributes to better health care while demonstrating how communities can develop expertise that serves their specific needs when formal medical systems are unavailable or inadequate. This self-reliance provides security while offering hope to others facing health challenges. Medical knowledge developed through community experience often proves more practical than formal training that doesn't account for real circumstances. Sister Joan observes as she reviews treatment improvements you've helped develop. When people learn to care for each other effectively, they create security that formal systems might not provide. Educational programs you've established ensure that learning continues throughout life while preserving knowledge that serves community needs. These systems demonstrate how education can adapt to circumstances while maintaining standards that promote both individual and collective growth. Education that serves real community needs creates capabilities that benefit everyone. Father William explains as he reviews curriculum development. When learning addresses actual challenges and opportunities, it provides tools that enhance both individual satisfaction and collective welfare. The cultural traditions you've helped establish or preserve create identity and continuity that strengthen community bonds while providing meaning that transcends immediate survival concerns. These contributions demonstrate how communities can maintain dignity and purpose even under challenging circumstances. Cultural life proves that we're still fully human regardless of our circumstances. You observe during planning for community celebrations. When we create beauty, maintain traditions, and celebrate together, we affirm values that transcend our immediate situation. Your perspective on suffering and resilience provides wisdom that extends beyond personal experience to offer insights about human nature and potential that could benefit anyone facing significant challenges. This understanding creates responsibility to share what you've learned. Suffering that leads to wisdom serves purposes beyond individual endurance. You reflect during a conversation about personal growth. When difficult experiences teach lessons that help others, individual struggle contributes to collective benefit in ways that justify the costs. The community you've helped build demonstrates that human dignity, purpose, and happiness can flourish under any circumstances when people choose cooperation over competition and service over self-interest. This achievement provides hope for broader social possibilities. What we've accomplished here proves that alternative ways of living are possible. You observe during a community reflection session. When people commit to mutual support and democratic decision-making, they can create communities that serve everyone's welfare while providing individual satisfaction and meaning. The bells continue their eternal rhythm as evening falls over the colony, but their sound no longer carries messages of isolation and despair. Instead, they announce the presence of a community where lost souls have found belonging, where the supposedly dying have discovered how to live, and where society's outcasts have created something that society itself might learn from. As you settle into sleep in your simple dwelling, surrounded by the sounds of a community at rest, you carry with you the profound satisfaction of a life that has found meaning in the most unlikely circumstances. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities to serve, to learn, and to grow within the bounds of this unexpected home. The transformation is complete, not because circumstances have changed, but because you have changed within them. Where others see tragedy, you have found purpose. Where others see isolation, you have found community. Where others see an ending, you have found a beginning that continues to unfold with each new day. The bells that once announced your social death now mark the rhythms of a life, more authentic and meaningful than the one you lost. In losing everything the world said mattered, you have found everything that actually does. The colony that was meant to be your grave has become your garden, where human dignity blooms despite the harshest conditions, proving that the human spirit can triumph over any circumstance when it chooses love over fear, service over selfishness, and hope over despair. The story that began with bells of warning has become a symphony of community, where every voice matters, every contribution is valued, and every soul finds its place in the eternal human chorus that sings of resilience, redemption, and the indestructible power of love to create meaning from suffering and community from isolation. In the end, you have not simply survived your diagnosis and banishment. You have transformed them into opportunities for becoming more fully human than you ever were before. The leper colony that was meant to hide society's shame has become a beacon of what human community can accomplish when built on foundations of mutual care, democratic participation, and commitment to the welfare of all, as sleep takes you on. This night, like so many others, the bells fade into gentle silence, but their message remains clear. You are here, you belong, you matter, and tomorrow will bring new opportunities to prove that love is stronger than fear, community is more powerful than isolation, and hope is more durable than despair. The medieval world intended the colony to be a place where people waited to die. Instead, it has become a place where people have learned how to live. That transformation of place, of purpose, of human possibility itself stands as eternal testimony to the truth that no circumstances, however dire, can defeat the human capacity to create meaning, build community, and choose love over fear. The bells will ring again tomorrow, announcing not endings but beginnings, not isolation but connection, not despair but hope, and you will be there to hear them, to answer their call, and to continue writing the story of how the human spirit triumphs over any challenge when it chooses community over isolation and love over fear. This is how the story ends, not with death, but with life, not with loss, but with discovery, not with despair, but with hope to prove stronger than any challenge the world can offer. The bells continue their eternal song, and you have learned to hear in their chiming not the sound of endings, but the music of infinite beginnings.